Hey, yo, what it do, and welcome into day number 2 of championship weekend here at the DBDLeague for season 10. And if yesterday's 6-set banger in a best of 5 series is any indication of what we're in for, you aren't going to want to miss a minute of it, as yesterday was absolute cinema. And if in case it's your first time through, or maybe it's been a minute since you've got to kick it with your boy over here at DBDL, I'm Q, and I'll be your host for this weekend's festivities. And while we will be seeing Elysium and Invictus squaring off in our first series of the grand finals matchup later today, and I know everyone's excited about it, we truly would be doing a disservice to our bronze matchup, as it really did deliver a banger series yesterday in our first series of a best of 3. Quick reminder, because it is a bit different this year, as season 10 is the biggest season to date. We wanted to really test our players' skill set in order to truly see who's the best in the fog. So, our bronze matchup, which is where we'll be starting at today, which will feature Ariandel and Nokron, is our second series. And if Nokron wins it, that's it. They won yesterday. If Ariandel wins this, the third series will be tomorrow, not today. Of course, it would be a little lonely by the campfire and not nearly as fun of a chat if I was doing it all alone. So today I'm joined on the desk by Egdar and Andrew, who both actually casted yesterday's series number 1. So excited to get to pick their brains in between trials today. Andrew, let's start with you, homie. How you feeling on this beautiful Saturday?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Q. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Hi, everybody. I'm OutcastAndrew, and yeah, actually, we got a really nice setup here on the analyst desk today. We had me and Egdar together yesterday, casting that insane matchup, and I'm super excited to see how today shakes out. Nokron barely edged out a win after 5 rounds that took us to a 6th tiebreaker. Crazy! I'm really excited to be here today, Q.
Now, Edgar, I hope the longer day yesterday with extra trials didn't take too much out of you, because you're here with me all day long. You'll be casting our second series today as well. How are you feeling today?
Down but not out. That's the best way to describe it. Yesterday was an absolute banger. We could not contain these teams in a 5-map series. Why would we? They're just too good for that. They had to go all the way to 6. They were trading blows back and forth. They were slugging it out until the very end of affairs. It was a truly insane match to watch, and obviously Nokron was able to eke out a win yesterday. They are 1-0 up. They are one step closer to securing their prize, that extra $500 for the 3rd place slot. But Ariandel, they aren't out of this one just yet.
Well, you guys have both talked about it. Nokron and Ariandel delivered us a banger yesterday, and a lot of experience between the two teams. So, Edgar, why don't you go ahead and remind us a little bit about this Ariandel roster?
Ariandel roster, it's one of the most tenured rosters that we currently have, and they are they're absolutely incredible. Of course, it's going to be headed up by Bubbo, who has the 3rd most number of killer games in the entire season, and some damn good stats at that. An average first down time of just over 2 minutes, averaging about 10 hook stages per game. And remember that Bubbo essentially plays everything for Ariandel, from the weakest of the killers to the strongest of ones. So those are some incredibly impressive stat lines. In the meantime, you cannot forget about the survivors of the roster. Of course, Bubbo picks it up along with DW, Xeyes, Hardwell, and iPick and Swatter. Swatter and Hardwell, actually the 2 most tenured survivors, with Swatter having played an insane 53 survivor games this season, and Hardwell coming in at close second at 45 survivor games. They are so experienced, they are so well tenured, but I think the problem, that if I had to say a problem, they appear to be a kind of jack-of-all-trades team, master of none. You know that they're going to be putting in a pretty good, strong performance on everything. They are the hallmark of consistency. But the problem is they are consistently great, but sometimes being great isn't enough. This is a ridiculously high standard that we have at Season X. Nokron proved it yesterday, right? So Ariandel, they are so close to greatness on just about everything they play. They just need to get that extra 1% to get over the line and start their comeback here today.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if they will indeed be able to get that win on the board and force us into a series number 3 tomorrow, as you do see that long list of a roster there on the left side of your screen. Of course, when we look back to yesterday, Nokron did walk away with a dub. This team is now one series away from that third place finish and an extra $500. Andrew, tell us a little bit about this roster.
Absolutely. Nokron coming in. I got a good important win yesterday because they'd been on a bit of a slump, but they managed to come back and talk. You were just talking about Bubbo playing mostly everything. I can guarantee we're going to see at least one other killer for Ariandel, but there's one guarantee I can tell you right now. The man, the myth, the legend, Zaka will be playing, unless something crazy happens, Zaka will be playing every single killer for Team Nokron today. Zaka has played the most matches of any killer coming into this weekend. Maybe for good or for ill. I was speaking yesterday. I'm wondering how much fatigue is coming into Zaka on the killer side. On the survivor side, it's actually really interesting. So we saw something really neat yesterday. We have the core roster of, again, Zaka, Marcos, Ivan, and Zynox, our resident basement gremlin, Zynox yesterday. But we did actually see, some of their support roster, Vabo and Shen, come in for multiple matches yesterday. So Shen played a handful of matches yesterday. Vabo started out the day. I think they both were in for at least 3 matches, which prior to this weekend, they'd only played 2 each. So a little bit more depth in their roster coming into the bronze medal here. I'm really interested to see how it went. And you know, being on the backup roster, you wouldn't know it by seeing how they played yesterday. Both of them were part of some really important matches, some wins and some losses. So Shen and Vabo, maybe we'll see them today. Maybe we'll be sticking to that core roster. Beyond that, Zaka, Marcos, and Ivan coming into this weekend had played every single match. A couple of them sat out yesterday. So on the killer side, again, it's hard to name. There's only a handful of people who stand up next to Zaka. One of the best hook rates, averaging 8.6 hooks per game. Definitely a killer to watch. Again, I'm interested to see. Nokron went 6-0 at the start of the season. They lost 3. They lost the bronze. Sorry, they lost the semifinal, and now they finally got back on the board with a win yesterday. Is this a sign of things to come? Are Nokron going to 2-0 it today? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I definitely feel like they have the potential. There's one thing I have learned over the years from watching Zaka is to never count them out. But the bounce back has been for sure. But can you do it back-to-back days, right? Now, before we look at our killer pool, let's take a second actually and reflect on yesterday's series. I mean, absolutely crazy day. Big plays on both sides. But at the end of it all, it was Nokron who was able to come out on top. It had been a while since we had seen that dub like you were just talking about there, Andrew. So let me actually ask you, how big of a win was this for them going into series number 2 of our bronze matchup?
Huge. Huge. Like, I don't want to harp on Zaka, but the guy I was saying yesterday, we had played really strong, wound up coming out with 3 wins and a tie. But the singularity match, particularly yesterday, really, really struggled. And I said during the cast, Egdar, you recall this? I was like, I mean, how much of this is too much pressure on one person? You know, like there's 40 killers in Dead by Daylight at this point. Being the go-to killer for every single match, for every single matchup for 40 different killers is a lot to ask. And some comes out stronger than others. Meanwhile, if you look at Ariandel, yesterday we saw Bubbo. Actually, it's important to note Bubbo got the 2 wins and the tie. But we did see iPick, we did see DW, and I guarantee, a little spoiler, we'll get to it. I guarantee the first killer is going to be the Fallen Art. So a little bit more depth of the killers in Ariandel. So Nokron taking that win, I think, is very good for their mental and Zaka's mental particularly, and I hope that shows today.
Now, Edgar, Ariandel has been one of those teams that's shown us like some highs of highs, right, as well as some lows of lows over the course of this season. And they've now lost 2 straight series to Nokron here in DBDL this season. Does that start to affect the mental at all? Or do you think with this being a completely different killer pool, since it's a unique set of killers for every set here in our bronze matchup, does that make it easier to hit that reset going into today's series?
The funny thing you mention is it's not just for this set, but it's the history of these teams in Season X. I've had a quick look. These teams did face each other in the regular season. As you say, 2-1 win to Nokron. It's a tale as old as time. Ariandel being able to play Nokron incredibly close, but not quite being able to get over that finish line. And none of the killers that they played in that regular season matchup are being played in this set here today. So it is a fresh look for them. They are going to have a new lease on life. It is just kind of that idea of, like, is there anything that Ariandel's hiding from us? You know what I mean? They're throwing everything that they possibly can at Nokron, and it's just not sticking. And I agree that from a mental standpoint, it can be so brutal to, you know, face off with this team over and over again and do spectacularly well. Remember yesterday we had a dredge set where Ariandel got the first down in 13 seconds. 13 seconds! And you do all that and you still can't win. You still can't close it out. Like, Ariandel, I think that they have the potential to beat Nokron, but the history might suggest otherwise. They're going to need to do some serious mental strengthening, and to be honest, I think they're going to be relying on Nokron to slip up. They're going to be relying on them to maybe get a bit confident, get a bit greedy, maybe for the fatigue to set in, with Zaka playing all of the killer sets and most of the survivor ones too, to just try and, you know, wear them down. Point is, if this series ends up in favor of either Ariandel or Nokron, it's not going to be a short one. Throughout all of their history, these teams have battled each other so close every single time. This is not being done in 3. We can't even guarantee it'll be done in 5.
I definitely can't guarantee that after yesterday. Look, I know we've already got players loading into the lobby. I'm sure chat's excited for today's matchup. Let's go ahead and set the stage real quick because I know we've got people getting ready to get started. As far as set number 1, we've got Ariandel's decided for the Nurse on Cold Tower to start things off. I mean, Nurse, Comp Tower, what more can you really ask for a banging day of DBDL? But set number 2 is the Clown on Wrecker's Yard, Doctor on the Red Shop for set 3. If you need it, Cenobite on the Dead Dog Saloon, and then a decider, if we do go the distance like yesterday, will be the Cold Tower once more for the Mastermind. But it's set number 1 here in just a couple of minutes to start things off, and it may be Ariandel's pick, but this is DBDLeague, the best of the best. They've all got a solid nurse in their killer pools, right? So, Andrew, how important is it here for Ariandel to come out and secure their map pick? I mean, you just fell short yesterday in overtime. Is this over and done if you drop the nurse set?
I don't want to count anybody out, but you definitely got to put up numbers. I mean, yesterday it literally went back and forth. Like, it literally went Nokron's pick, Nokron wins. Ariandel's pick, Ariandel wins. Nokron is Ariandel. They went back and forth. So dropping your pick is going to really hurt you. Like, luckily for Ariandel, they do have the Fallen Art. I hate calling people one tricks because it sounds like a backhand, but a specialist. The Fallen Art is the nurse specialist. Again, I've seen Zaka do some great things on Nurse as well, so it's not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to definitely come down to good comms, good communication, and precise blinking. I think the killer who takes less predictions is going to win. I think that seems like such an obvious thing, but like prediction blinks versus just clean, you know, short blink, follow-up blink, get the hit. Short blink, follow-up blink, get the hit. None of this. I think he's going to zigzag around the corner. I'm going to try and big brain outplay him. They look great on the highlight reel, but you miss 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, and you lose the match. So I want to see clean play by the Fallen Art in this first matchup and see them take the win for Ariandel to keep this match close.
Now, Edgar, that means I need you in Nokron's shoes here for just a minute. You came out on top in a thriller yesterday. What's the recipe for success here on Survivor in order to be, or what the recipe for success here on Survivor to be able to ensure you carry that over into today?
It starts with the first set. It really does. Now, recall that yesterday, Nokron got the first pick in the series. And in a series that goes to 5, the fact that you just have one more killer that you have chosen, that you actually want to play and that the other team has to prepare for, could be a very big deal. And yesterday, that kind of rang true, a 3-2 victory for Nokron. Today, however, Ariandel themselves got the first pick, so they have decided deliberately to go with Nurse first. I truly think this match sets the momentum. But it's momentum which is on the shoulders of Ariandel. And so to put myself in Nokron's shoes, as weird as this sounds, I'm going to say try not to sweat it. because you aren't necessarily expected to win this Nurse set. So try and shake off that pressure. Try and, shake off those nerves, which you undoubtedly have going into today, and just let loose and play the game that you know how to do. Because if you lose the Nurse set, it was expected. They have a specialist, they have first pick, we're already one up anyway, and then the rest of the series, you can just take that how it goes. If you end up winning the Nurse set, I think we just see a complete Ariandel collapse. So for Nokron, stay calm, stay composed. The odds aren't necessarily in your favor off the rip, but since when has that stopped him in the past?
All right, well then let me stay with you here for a second. Give me 20-second, 30-second elevator pitch. Who's winning this series today before we see either of these two teams take to the fog?
I mean, yes, so it's as I've said before, Nurse decides this. Maybe that is presumptuous of me, but if Ariandel win Nurse, I see Ariandel winning this set in a 3-1 or 3-2. If Nokron wins on Nurse, then it's a Nokron 3-0. And I know that's a bold prediction, but it's one that I'm going to stand by. Feel free to throw tomatoes at me as the match goes on.
Well, Andrew, do you agree, or you got something different for me before we head into the fog here?
I'm a contrarian. Forget that Egdar guy. Doesn't know what he's talking about. Here's my prediction. We're going to 5. We're going to go 3-2 for Ariandel. We're going the distance. And the last match, the Wesker Mastermind match on Coal Tower, is going to be a banger like we saw with Slinger yesterday. You just mark my words. Here it comes.
All right, well, you know what? Ain't no more time to talk about it. It's time to be about it. Series number 2 of our bronze matchup for DBDLeague Season 10 playoffs, Ariandel and Nokron. It's trial number 1, the Nurse on Coal Tower. Let's send it on over to our casters, Direwolf and Zach, as we take one more trip back into the fog.
Thank you so much to the analyst desk and the deep insight we got here. It is indeed one of the most important matches. I cannot believe we are already down to the final 4, ladies and gentlemen, and the absolute classic El Clasico set coming out. The Nurse on the Coal Tower, an absolute specialist on Team Trauma back then with so many years of experience, hopefully with a good performance today and not turning into fallen hearts, but already finding some survivors over here. 2 of them, one at the edge map. Is that the one we want to follow here? Zach, first chase, always so important on the Nurse.
Oh, hello, Diet. So great to be casting with you. And yes, first chase, always looking for that timer. Always gives the teams the momentum they need coming into the later game, because the first tunnel out, that first elimination, getting into that 3v1 has to be the Nurse's priority, because of just the way that these sets do go. But yes, we are in with bronze match number 2, potentially deciding it all for Nokron. Ariandel looking to take the win and tie the series up. But that is Ivan going to be going down, I want to say, about average, to be honest. 58 seconds. That's actually a bit faster than usual. But yeah, I think Fallen I can be happy with that. Dying in that corner looks very, very intentional too, which is another thing characteristic of Nurse sets, getting that strategic position down. But look, we have this gen almost finished, and he's going to get Pop Goes the Weasel there.
Yeah, that's punishing for the Survivor team whenever you're able to. And we already can tell it's a lot about finding the survivors early, but also for the survivors to find a good chance to counter here. Almost a 360 a little bit coming out from Zaka. Good job on that. And Fallen out immediately after the Anno comes through, back onto the survivors here. Classic elimination strategy, especially when you're a strong killer. Like the Nurse, the 3v1 scenario is pretty easy to achieve. However, against Ivan, one of the most experienced survivors, it can be difficult, but a beautiful blink here. Straight onto our Spanish juicer into the decisive strike at the edge map. So Nokron really throwing in the resources, but that is needed kinda after that was so punishing. Nice attempt there from Ivan, expecting a long blink, trying to bamboozle him a little bit. Doesn't work out. I hope for Nokron that we get the first generator out of the way too, actually. So Zach, we are back on track.
Yeah, that was looking a bit scary for a second when Zaka got found after that hook, and then unhook came through relatively fast too. I think probably because Zaka called out, he was in a bad position that unhook needs to come through, because you get into that situation where you have someone basically on the verge of death right after that first hook. It can be devastating and lead to some really early 4Ks for these nurse sets. I was kind of looking back through Nokron's kind of matches in Season 10, and I honestly don't see that many nurse sets at all, if any. So I think the analysts kind of alluded to it. Like, this is definitely Ari's pick to win, but if Nokron can take this, they're the team that I'm really focusing on for this set. So Ivan on the second stage, they do pop the 2 gens, and Fallen Art is going to be making his way back to that unhook. And for the people going to come through to keep Ivan safe for just a little bit longer, can he avoid Fallen Art's nurse? This is basically the moment where he's facing his elimination, and good pathing from Ivan. He goes back into the shack, has the lithe as well to use, very well positioned for him there to make some extra distance to the corner of the map. That spring trap perk coming in for the information on Fallen Art, and he's dodged out on a set of blinks, dropping the shack pallet. And honestly, Ivan, this is a good chase from you. He's sort of lurking around the back end of shack. Fallen Art, he's using the line of sight breaker of shack. It's so good. Slow vaults in, but Fallen Art hears it. He is going to take the hit, and we're going over to this left side. No, he pats back around the Z-wall, but Fallen Art, nice little correction there to get Ivan, and that's the first elimination. Now we're almost at 1 gen remaining, Di.
And that's a pretty well done job still by the Survivor team. We had a lot of dangerous situations so far. You mentioned Zaka being found, and then he's able to, with his somewhat 360 to avoid the hit. Then even with the interruption of that first shack generator, 5 of them completed already. And meanwhile, Zynox coming out with the plot twist here. We remember Nightlight had a strategy against that during the season, bringing in the Deer Stalker. No one actually expecting this, but that's not the case that the survivors need to be afraid of here in this trial. So Zynox just back on the feet in a couple of seconds here. Marcos now being injured, but we chase in the perfect location, speaking from the survivor POV, right next to a completed generator. So Fallen Art realizing that as well. Back, and Marcos now going on a totem. Maybe we can switch over there real quick to see if that's an inner healing. Most likely that's the case. Lara here going into the next chase, and it is indeed. So Nokron really utilizing everything given so far to make sure that they have the upper hand here, and only 1 gen away from the end game. So far, Nokron is here to win.
Yeah, and I noticed that they managed to get the map split for gens too, so it's only going to make their job harder for Fallen Art to try and get this one out. But the Unbreakable onto Zaka after slugging, eats the DS from Ivan, and now slugs the Unbreakable player. You cannot get more unlucky than that. We also still have Marcos on the Deliverance too. That's going to be 1 second chance perk that they use, but of course they've just used the plot twist and Unbreakable, so 2 really important late game perks which they can crutch on as well if you do get into those slugging scenarios. So as more resources kind of come out from these perks, Nokron are going to be in a bit more of a sticky situation as the trial kind of proceeds. It's going to be all about these mid-game chases, and really nice Fallen Art reading Zaka's double back on the corner there. This is one of those skills that Nurse players really can shine on, is when they read these player movements. And Analysts alluded to it with the prediction blinks, the safety blinks, and Fallen Art seems to just be reading each movement pretty nicely, and it's leading to these quick downs. First stage now on the board for Zaka, and we have our survivors taking a bit of safety away from these generators to not get found, especially in a situation where you have one of your teammates on hook. And I believe the Nurse actually failed the blink upstairs as far as I saw. On hook comes through now to Zaka, and there is no survivor waiting up here, but this gen does have some progress on it. Pop goes the Weasel, going to erase all of that. 30%, 20%, 25% of the current progression. And Zaka healed up now, but again, the Spring Trap perk coming through. I forgot the name of it, to be honest, but Firecracker not going to connect. But yeah, I think this is there needs to be a bit more pressure on the killer side for me if we're going to be trying to secure that 4K one day.
Yeah, Phantom Fear with the debut, I think, in Season 10 here. A lot helping with tracking these survivors and making sure the pressure is upheld. I must say, Fallen Art, for me, playing really safe at the moment. He is trying to execute this typical elimination strategy. He's trying to leave the chases rather early than overcommitting, taking a look onto the generators and making sure that no one is secretly finishing something, especially two survivors doubling up out of nowhere. And it seems to work so far, yet I believe there's still a good chance for the survivor team of Nokron to take over here, because yeah, we see it right here, right? 40% on the generator just for this chase alone. So they definitely have the ability and the coordination that it takes here. I'm still impressed, though, that Fallen Art is able to hold this generator setup together. We mentioned it. It's a huge spread, and Nokron really looked strong all the way down until the elimination came through. So maybe they are falling a little bit apart here out of grief that Ivan is no longer on the Coal Tower map. Fallen Art now onto the hill here, spots the next survivor, but too far away for a second bling. Do we go for the private ladder match at the shack? The answer is yes, we do. And again, Nokron dragging it all the way towards the edge of the map here. Zaka taking the injury though, but far behind the shack. In the corner, Marcos and Zynox might use that precious time. The DH a little bit too early, but Fallen Art calculating with enough time to go for the hook. Also wants to get that pop kick again, and we see perfect calculation. Zynox is hiding to rotate over for the save onto Zaka, so single survivor working on the main building will not be enough. Setback again coming in with the pop. So far seems like a cycle, and if Fallen Art can keep it up, the dream of a 4K definitely still stands.
Absolutely. I'm noticing this routine of these bot side chases into the gradual progression on the generator into the stealthing. So if Marcos gets found here, which he does, this is going to be devastating, because now we've got a topside chase on all of that progression. This is probably the first slip off of Nokron in the 3v1. Going to be going down there now. And yeah, that's the kind of situation that Nokron, I think, are trying to avoid. We've got this hook here attached to this tile, and now you had those two survivors kind of playing in tandem together on the bot side. It looks like they actually have some progression on the bot side now, but yeah, it looks like they might try to switch it up after that top side chase, because now, of course, the deliverance, of course, I forgot to mention that, but gonna keep him safe just this once. Marcos communicating to his team, I'm safe, it's okay, you don't need to get me. But now that you have that hook coming through, Marcus is going to be able to make it to safety. But he does get found in the mid map, it looks like. Can he last longer, though? And does miss out on one blink set. Does Fallen Art want to commit this to the bot side? No, he runs over to the right-hand side. Marcus making it to safety. And yeah, this is like... It's just like, what are we doing here? We go top side, we go bot side, die like we're playing in the middle of the map. And it seems like it's a bit more chaotic.
It is turning a little bit chaotic indeed, and the question is, who will actually take the upper hand? Because this is the perfect moment to make sure that things are shifting a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, attention onto the main building, please. Once again, Marcos being picked up. I understand you really want to go for the pop kicks, but sometimes you might think I have too much time, and that will bite Fallen Art back, basically. He will not be able to make it back into the main building in time. End game coming through here on the Coal Tower. Fantastic game so far. The fact that all 5 gens have been completed is already impressive. We've seen a lot of Nurse performances where the generators are still standing. So even if everything would fall apart, burn down, sabotage itself, and so on, you could still be happy with the result that we see here. But I do believe that Nokron is looking for a lot more, because Marcos is already grinding that exit gate. Important is that Zynox is not being found, and Zaka making sure that Fallen Art has to take some ibuprofen because that pallet goes straight onto the head there. Wonderful escape by Nokron. What a sign in the first trial here, fighting for bronze. I'm hyped to hear what the analysts think about this.
Talk about a heck of a first trial. I mean, we saw, especially right up first, we do have to say, doing a decent job finding that first chase, but then really great job fighting back from the survivors as well. I think the big thing for me, Edgar, was finding the DS survivor first, but also finding some unlucky perk values of rest of the trial as well. Walk us through that a little bit.
So, so you're allowed to bring some very strong things against a nurse. So some very strong perks, things like your dead arts, your deliverances, your decisive strikes, your overcomes, etc., etc. Now, as a nurse, often there is some ability to figure out exactly who has what. So, for instance, it's become quite popular for the deliverance survivor to have overcome and inner strength, mostly so that if they do end up getting found and getting hit early, they can make enough distance and find a totem to just heal themselves, put them in a good position to proc that deliverance. But it just all went wrong for Fallen Art. You find the decisive survivor first, so your tunnel out is delayed. You get hits onto the survivors with plot twist and inner healing.
Yeah.
So they heal themselves. Deliverance is procced, so Ada can just unhook herself. And then you try and slug the unbreakable survivor. It was kind of disastrous in that sense. It seemed like no matter what Fallen Art did, the perks just never really went in his favor.
I do gotta say though, it felt like after we got past that portion of luck, I mean, we did see Fallen Art be able to at least dig in and get, I mean, quite a bit of progress, right? Find all of the other fresh hooks that were left after that first elimination. 2 people you were even able to get into Death Hook. Maybe I'm being a little bit of copium here because obviously usually the expectation is like no one really gets out against Nurse. But Andrew, do you feel like this was a comeback more in that mid game, or do you still feel like this is a underwhelming performance?
I think that, pardon my voice, my goodness. I think that the game was over by the time we got to the 3v1. I think that Ivan did such a good job. There was one time when Fallen Art was chasing along the edge of that hill and Bull sent a full charge of the blink, and Ivan turned around and bolted straight back. I think that the match was over by the time we got there. We had a giant split top and bottom of the map of gens. I think that we were always going to get more downs. I think the survivors were, as long as there was some really, really strong stealth play there at main building, like way pre-leaving in the main building when we were coming back up to give it a kick. There was so much already working against Fallen Art by the time we got to the 3v1 that I think that the escapes were inevitable, and that comes down to the really fine play on the tunnel out. I do want to say survivors got to start looking at their shoes, because Phantom Fear, as long as that perk is going to be allowed on killers, you got to stop looking at you got to stare at your shoes, look at the ground, and don't look at the killer, because you're going to give yourself away. We saw that at the beginning of the match, and I think survivors, the perk is new, they're going to get used to it, but I think survivors are going to make a few mistakes before they catch up to that.
Yeah, I know I have definitely been seeing a bunch of Phantom Fear out in the fog, even just in pubs. It's a strong perk. You can understand why. I mean, it is some free information, essentially. What it's like every 60 seconds once it procs. So you can't really necessarily blame the killers for running. I guess one last question while we wait for everyone to ready up here. Andrew, while you were talking about Fallen Art, all things considered, you mentioned it was over once you got to the 3v1. Do you still think Fallen Art was able to come back enough to give their survivors a chance here?
A chance, yes. I mean, like you guys both said, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to get outs on Nurse. We see it. Does it happen? Yes. Does it happen a lot? No. Is this a possible win or at least are we able to get to a position where we can put up a result that he's going to either win or tie this? Yes. if we hadn't got some of those really nice blinks, there's a lot of things, like I said, but going into the match, we need to see safe blinks, not prediction blinks. And we saw a lot of those in the sort of second half of the match. I liked that. But the problem is that, again, if you miss one or two, it really punishes you. People like to say Nurse is a really mobile killer. She's not. She's not a mobile killer. She's the best killer in chase in the entire game, but she is slow as molasses, and you can walk faster as a 4.6 killer. If you walk end to end on the map, you can reach the end faster as a 4.6 killer than if you full blink every time with Nurse. She's slow. Her map control is very, very weak in comparison to some other of the S tier killers. The advantage of her is getting those quick downs. If you're not getting those quick downs, it's not coming in. The downs came slow at the beginning, a little faster at the end. Yeah, I'm yapping, but I think that there's a chance, but I think that the survivors have to lock in because this is going to be a challenge.
Well, if we're going to be fair, the 4K rate is only 60%. It's easy for us up here in the booth to say that you're supposed to get a 4K. So if 8 hooks is still rather reasonable, it's time to see if the survivors are going to be able to match, if not beat, those couple of stages out the door. So let's go ahead and run it back one more time on the cold tower for some Nurse action. Zach Direwolf, take it away.
Thank you so much to our analyst desk for the breakdown of that match. And now we've got Zaka for Team Nokron trying to win it for his team in this first set. We've talked about this first set. It is definitely a set that Nokron would like to win. It was going to give them momentum into this series. But you are facing 4 survivors of Ariandel, notoriously strong in comparison. But the consistency of the Nokron side, let's see if Ariandel can replicate that and try to get some outs on this map, as we have already spotted our first survivor on this right side. I believe that was Swatter, if I saw correctly. But you do have the survivor pathing towards the top side. Looks like they've realized this is the place that they want to be chasing. Swatter, such an insane survivor performance from him so far in this in this Season X. He had a really standout performance against Elysium last week. And he is a survivor that's been consistent. Zaka's going to just miss out. Swatter's living to see another day. And look at how much distance he's made. He's done a like L shape along the top of the map. Makes so much distance to the corner here. This is going to be so good for the survivors starting out. Zaka wants to... It's just going to walk him down. Actually, no blinks. Not taking any risks, actually. That's a pretty good down. I want to say it's roughly around the same time. Yeah, only 1 second faster than last trial.
And that is in exchange, however, the first generator this time. No trouble, because the survivors are kind of sabotaging into each other, though Nokron has shown us afterwards pretty clearly how they can make a comeback here. Swatter, I feel like Swatter very often has to take the first down. Very unfortunate for him here. I pick Babu and Hartwell, though, making sure now that they coordinate the rescue, especially I pick with the Deliverance classic sprint burst on that player to move in a little bit quicker. Babu grinding the generator, and we see the same strategy, though, as an S-tier killer, as strong as the Nurse. We make sure that we immediately rotate back. Zaka now onto our Swatter, who's going again edge map, trying to waste as much time as possible, and then in a good moment holding W away, making a little bit of distance that costs a few precious seconds here, and waiting out the DH. What a wonderful move by Zaka here. You can see all the experience coming in clutch there.
Yes, I swear that Dead Hard was just milliseconds from actually hitting that. It was so close. I feel like the animation came in right before Zaka decided to swing, and then it just missed. I feel like that was so close, and that would have made a lot of difference probably in the outcome of this first elimination. Like in terms of speed, we've got Bobber now about to finish that second generator, and Hardwell looks like he has a bit of attention from Zaka. We're at main building now. Above, we see iPick, and it is right next to the hook. So this could be quite bad for our survivors if this down comes through quick. Prediction blink not going to connect. We're going to run into the basement, waste some time potentially with a locker grab. Zaka does not want to commit though. It's going to break that door. Considering the blinks were just used, is going to be a bit faster. But yeah, that lurking unhook her right there. Moving down to this left side of the map. And getting spotted out there by Zaka is going to hurt them a little bit. Hardwell's here. Zaka, look behind you. There's a survivor there. He can't hear me. Oh, he doesn't get it for free now. It's going to be a trade. Oh, we're going to take the BT hit onto Swatter. Not going to be able to use that DH now with the factoring in the deep wound. So nice strategic play there from Zaka. How long can Swatter last? We have IPIC about 60% of the way towards that third gen being completed. The double back comes through. Will he get the second follow-up? No. No, good pathing by Swatter. And we have all of our survivors now cranking on these gens. How long can Swatter last? He doesn't have that dead hard to be used. And he paths all the way to bot side. He uses the tree to block. And he's going to live for just a little bit longer. Gen pops almost a fourth one. In the shack building, in the balanced landing, he's taking Zaka on a tour of the coal tower, Dyer. He's not dying. He refuses to die. He's putting the entire Ariandel team on his back. And we're going to be at 1 gen before this elimination equal comes through. And is Zaka left?
Zaka's leaving! No, he's returning again, but it would be so crazy if the nurse actually gave up on a survivor. But actually, Zach, maybe it would be a good move to give up on the survivor, because Swatter has created an entire safari across the entire Coal Tower 1 here. What a fantastic play by Swatter here. Yeah, he might have gone down 9 times as the first survivor, but we can see why he is a good first down, because when responsible for these recovery play, then he basically says, team, I pick this position and I pick to be the one with the backpack carrying you all in case you need autographs. Ladies and gentlemen, Swatter is definitely the player you want to have. Not only an autograph, an entire tattoo on your back. But let's see if Zaka can bring this home here. I originally agreed a lot with taking the DH out, and you would say like, okay, he has done this to be a little bit more safe when chasing with Swatter, right? But it turned out that seemed to work a little bit like an activation for Swatter here. Crazy chase. And now the win condition, where a lot of people might have said that looks pretty clear with only the 8 stages, this entire match just became super open again.
Yeah, especially when you really don't have too much information on where these last survivors are. It gives them the advantage right now. So we're going to need a quick find and a quick down onto IPIC here, who's taking chase over to the edge of this map. Has that shadow there for a bit of indication. Oh no, it was Hardwell actually. We saw 2 survivors then lurking on this top side. And the plot twist actually going to force the grab, and the plot twist procs the eruption in the distance. And a bit of a communication there. But yeah, it's just actually a smart move, because Hardwell with that plot twist is going to force the pickup. And Nurse is notoriously slow when she picks up survivors. And look at this gen. Look at how close this is. Does he have enough distance to make it up to the spot side? And honestly, the deja vu, it might be the case. Oh, Zaka's not even on his way there. He thinks he doesn't know that there's enough progress.
Oh, God.
Oh, this is going to be the final gen popping. We're in the end game, and only 4 stages on the board right now. We're in the end game, Dart. Oh, he's waiting to pop it too. Oh, I feel like that's such a huge blunder from Zaka.
No, I'm telling you, like, to overcome this tragedy here, it is going to be a really, really difficult task. Zaka just, basically had it so perfectly on his hand, right? 8 stages on a nurse is an absolutely luxury position to be in. And unfortunately, that is not enough, because we will see the survivors walking out of the door here in a second. We have 1 more stage on Hardwell, so that's going to be 7 stages on 3 compared to 8 stages on 4. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a win for Ariandel on the nurse. Both of these teams able to make an escape in the first place. That is already crazy, considering that we have a nurse on the coal tower. But the fact that Ariandel takes this set here is absolutely insane, and this will create some, I want to say, like, mental impact for the rest of this best of 5. Analysts, take it away, please.
What a trial and what a turnaround that we saw. I mean, we saw a lot of early pressure. You had somebody on death hook at 3 gens left. It looked like things were able to we're going to turn around. I mean, you had Swatter on death hook, and then what happened, Andrew?
We were definitely, Zaka was definitely ahead on the first 2 downs. The first down came in around the same. The unhook came in. I don't know what Swatter's plan was there. I know what Swatter's plan was there, but I don't know if I agree with it. Swatter's plan seemed to be like, I think you could have ran towards some of the progress down near the bottom of the map near Shack, but I also think maybe that's where there was some gen progress we were trying to avoid. But we were edge mapping injured. We wanted to take that dead hard, hit it, and run around and get maybe to main building and make some distance, because the plan was hit your dead hard. It didn't hit the dead hard. So now we've got a down. We are at 4, almost 3 gens. We were looking pretty rough. And then Swatter. Okay, there's so much happened. Sorry, I got to go over this very, very quickly. So much happened. Swatter got some distance. Zaka did what I said the nurses should not do and went for a prediction blink through the logs. Swatter, with some very strong and smart pathing, don't be where the killer wants you to be, manages to double back. Then that amazing, everything's a tech, a tree tech, whatever you want to call it. The jukes around the 3 trees there, fantastic move. I'm in deep wounds. I can't use my dead hard. That's cool. They gave me 2 exhaustion perks. I'm going to balance landing through Shack. I'm going to show my face, and the moment that blink comes through, I'm going to run back through. It looked like Zaka, Dyer said, it looked like Zaka was about to give up, and I'm sure it was like, oh, I got to go back to there's probably a reaction. I got to go back to my gens, except no, you got to get your tunnel out, brother. So I'm sure either he or his team were screaming at him to go back and do it, and he goes and gets Swatter. But it was just so much ahead. Top and bottom gen split. Swatter dead at 1 gen left with some progress, whereas last time it was at just finishing the second last gen. Fantastic masterclass by Swatter. I'm going to shut up now. Fantastic work by Swatter. Swatter won the game the same way Ivan got the outs for their team. Swatter got outs for his.
Well, I think what was interesting, right, is you almost leave the chase on the elimination, right, because you feel like you need to go back and check the gens. But then Zonka, who is a killer who I feel like so often does a fantastic job of being able to talk about, who does such a fantastic job of being able to handle everything that a killer has to do. Track down survivors, monitor the gens. All of a sudden gets more survivor focused, loses tracks of the gens despite the fact knowing that there was some progress. I mean, what happened there, Edgar?
Zaka just kind of misjudged the gen progress, to put it bluntly. Though, to be honest, there's no reason why he shouldn't have gone down to check on it. So he had a hook at the top of the map. From there, he could physically hear the gen in the main building. And then at that point, it's like, okay, well, I can hear it. It doesn't have lots of progress on it. So I need to go to the other side of the map to check. That's the number one thing as a killer. You can never get complacent. You can never assume that there is something happening on the other side of the map, because you could be completely wrong. The only way to actually confirm it is to go there. And on Nurse, you kind of have the luxury of doing that. You don't even have to go all the way to the gen. Just a couple blinks over, you can see and hear the progress and then make a quick judgment call there. But that didn't happen. That's a misplay that cost Zaka dearly. First set going the way of Ariandel. It's time for Nokron to try and fight back.
Well, I think it'd be easy as a killer to be able to sit back and reflect and dwell on things and wonder, was it the right call? Was it not? The good news for Zaka, well, Zaka's going to be heading right back into trial number 3. We're off to Wrecker's Yard for the Clown. Casters, let's go ahead and run it up.
Thank you so much. Second set, ladies and gentlemen. Is it going to be a huge comeback? Is it potentially fitting this killer a clown show on the Wrecker's Yard? We will find out in a couple of seconds here, and it's going to be Zaka once again. Hopefully he was able to use the short break here to recover a little bit from what happened on the Nurse here, this unfortunate loss of the first set point. And we see the Dragon's Grip coming out once more. A very controversial perk, ladies and gentlemen, which I'm still not a fan of. Let's hear if Zach judges Dragon's Grip a little bit differently.
Well, the Dragon's Grip is an interesting perk because it gets you exposed when you kick the gen, but it's almost like a regression perk in of itself, where you essentially are, if you're healthy at least, you're forced to basically not touch that gen, and it kind of gives you that sort of secured regression. If you're in a situation with a clown next to you who's very good chase with his intoxicated bottles, of course the purple bottles will slow you down, hinder you, and when you're exposed, you're basically facing death, right? Applying that Dragon's Grip is just like an extra bit of pressure, and it's almost like guaranteed pressure, where I feel like sometimes with like pain res where you can get bad hook RNG, or maybe the survivors realize that there's a specific area of the map where you don't want them to run to. The Dragon's Grip kind of gives you a bit of safety, but that's only if you're kind of monitoring an area too. So there's a few things to, I guess, consider. A few pros, a few cons. But yeah, that's a nice palace stun there from Hardwell. We did have a chase onto Bubbo, but he didn't look like he wanted to commit. Zako's just... This is his kind of territory, though, with the M1 killer. He has seemed quite locked on the Clown recently, and when he says he swings through that pallet trying to predict, going crazy. Hardwell using the gaps in this tile to see where Zaka is going to reset his bottles. And all of our survivors are on these gens. And look, Hardwell just winning basically every 50-50. Well, it's not 50-50. He can see Zaka through those tiles. It's going to take the hit there with a bit of hindrance. And this is a pretty slow first down, I want to say. We're going to take the chase over into the corner. Doesn't get the hindrance as well. So that's going to secure it for Hardwell. And damn, Ariandel survivors looking on form today.
Now we need to make sure, though, that especially after so many generators will pop here in the early game, right, that we kind of put the survivors on some sort of a to-do list, how I love to call it. So we need to spread some additional injuries here. We need to make sure that they fall into this cycle of healing against one another, and yeah, also being put into the difficult decision of, do we want to stay on the generator, or do we really want to waste the time to go for a reset? Because I feel like Sloppy always has this little bit of a mental impact where you try to stay injured because it feels so slow if you go for a Sloppy heal. And especially since Sloppy has been brought, we hopefully spread some injuries. Here, Exercise! Oh, Exercise! That was just a few millimeters missing there. But what an important moment to stay alive here. That would have been devastating if Exercise would have gone down there, kind of at the direction towards the hook. And Zaka just chilling here. 2 survivors next to him, and he's just holding them, going for his yellow bottle, waiting out the base kit BT, and now he obviously wants the Nia. The question is that possible? The answer is no, so Bubba will take an injury here. 3 across the board, and off to Nia we go. First bottle not hitting. The second one is enough, and it's enough to get the down here as well. So now it's time to rock the injuries.
Yeah, 2 injuries on the board. Like you say, it's a bit of a slowdown in itself, because it really makes you think, like, as a survivor, do I want to heal? This is going to take forever. I don't have all day. I want to do gens. But yeah, they're taking that extra time, and this kind of reminds me like of what we saw yesterday from Ariandel, where they take the patient approach. They know that as long as they stay healthy, stay safe, they will get the gens eventually. And that's one of the things I really like about Ariandel, is they're just calm, cool decision making. Where often teams will get a bit impatient with their decisions. Ariandel always just seem to be on the safe side, and more often than not actually pays off for them. But yeah, taking that heal. Hardwell isn't dead yet. They know they have enough time to rescue him. And Zaka is on Swatter's trail. Doesn't want to commit though. Wants to try and secure this elimination with 2 gens remaining. But where are survivors after that reset? We have 2 gens on the board. And we're in a bit of a kind of situation here, like where who's going to make the first move? Yeah, Excise there, kind of stealthing. Has his life to use for safety. And yeah, they looks like they just leave Hardwell to die, and gonna opt to stay healthy and essentially go into the 3v1 looking strong.
Looking strong indeed, and that's going to be Swatter. There's only one dangerous bill, ladies and gentlemen, and let's see if Swatter can run later on, it seems like, because we're switching over to Babbo here for as long as during the nurse trial. Zaka needs to find a good balance now, keeping the generators under control and making sure that the survivors are pushed away in best case with an injury. Again, adding the decision, do we want to heal? Do we want to waste and lose some time here? Because all of that then again leads into the regression of the generators. Excise, however, in the distance on a 50% generator. And if Zaka moves over here to push off Excise, Swatter and Babbo have the ability again to finish that other generator. So he's in a super difficult spot right now. If they play this perfectly, Zach, this should be endgame.
It should be. Swatter's going to take a stage at least, but they get that last gen done. We do have a gate down the side of the map too. So if Zaka's not really clued in on the progression, he could positionally... Yeah, looks like he wants to hook on this hill. If there even is one, I didn't quite see if there's a hook there, but if Swatter gets hooked in this bot sides, you have this gate here, so they can go for a rescue, and they potentially, if they play it right, what is that going to be, like 4 stages? Ariandel have all of the cards in their hand right now. Zaka's going to need to play this pretty well. Does see someone actually. Wants to try and commit maybe for another fresh hook. Using those bottles, try and positionally... but there is a filler pallet here for the survivor to use. Excise there being found. Babbo potentially running for that unhook. Or on the gate even. Yeah, the unhook does come through. Is there a gate ready though? Excise still... remember, he has lithe actually, so he's not injured, has the lithe. And if that gate's ready and they come in for hit tanks, like I said, this could be 4 stages.
And that's an incredible play today by Ariandel. I think the fans are super in love with what they see. It's a crazy performance today, back to back, coming from the nurse. And then, yeah, really, you could tell, right, these survivors, they have momentum from the nurse set, and they are here to play and to enjoy, and maybe even a little bit to dominate. But yeah, I always love talking about the mental dynamic that is coming out and how dangerous it can be. Q, wouldn't you agree with me that we can definitely see that Ariandel is being strong from what they've shown us from the nurse set here?
Well, I know we were definitely talking in the back that it is definitely shown through the screen that Ariandel has indeed come to play. Their survivors have been looking phenomenal here. Of course, we do got to look back to after that first trial. It felt like those survivors came out and put a pretty formidable win condition on the table just for Ariandel's survivor to then in turn come out and beat that. So that can still happen here. I guess the big thing that I really want to talk about at this point in the series, especially after back-to-back trials here, for Zaka on the survivor side, what's the mental looking like right now? Edgar,
Put it like this. Put it like this. Clown averages 8 hook stages a game. Nokron got 4. That is ridiculous. It turns out that all Ariandel actually needed was just a good night's sleep. They are coming out looking like a completely different team. Not only did we see it in the nurse set, where they had such a tough win condition and were still somehow able to beat it, but also now that they are in, like, when they're able to start on the survivor side, they're able to make Zaka look like me on Killer, like someone with like barely a few hundred hours. This is absolutely insane. And I think that you can feel things slipping away from you if you're Nokron right now. Like, you were able to barely beat this team yesterday, and maybe all the fatigue, all the pressure is just getting to you, and you're playing a bit sloppy, and the survives on the other team are hitting their marks, and they're having long chases, and they're able to dodge hits by absolute millimeters by the use of life and a clown bottle at the same time. It's ridiculous. And so Ariandel definitely winning the mental warfare here.
Ariandel's definitely in the lead as far as the mental warfare. Now, of course, Zaka, killer that's been known to be able to compete at the highest of levels. Sometimes it takes great plays from great survivors in order to cause that little bit of a slip. Do you feel like there was anything that really stood out to you on that side of things in Chase, Andrew, that really kind of helped our survivors here in this case?
The survivors are locked in. The survivors of Ariandel are like locked in and ready to rock and roll. I feel like I'm repeating it. We're just all saying the same thing, but it's hard not to point out that chase by Hardwell. That tile is not a great tile. It's got a long the tile that we went down in the first chase there. The second chase there wasn't much going on because we had the body block hanging out and we weren't able to make it to a pallet. Not much you can do there. You don't expect. Hardwell almost made it to that truck pallet. Great pathing, but that masterclass standing at that wall, peeking over and through the tile, winning every little inch here and there, not giving anything. That tile is, no disrespect, that tile is not a very safe tile for survivors. I'm gonna say it's garbage. It's got a pretty weak pallet. It's got a strong window with a weak pallet and a lot of gaps in the walls. And Hardwell, patient, calm, did not give up a hit until it was no choice but to do that. Winds up getting to comp corner. And honestly, if it hadn't been that there wasn't a lot between there and that truck tile, I think Hardwell goes even longer. Great play by Hardwell. Well played.
Well, in set number 1, it was Nokron survivors. They had a pretty impressive performance just for Ariandel's survivors to come out and beat that. Nokron now have the ability to return the favor here in set number 2. So let's go ahead and head back to Wrecker's Yard one more time and take another trip back into the fog.
Yes, thank you very much, Q. And indeed, we'll see. It looks like it's a relatively, I think it's an identical build coming through from Bubba. So nothing really too much to shout about the perk wise, but is going to be using his bottles effectively. Clown is one of those killers that's actually played quite often on ladder too. So we do see a lot of 1v1 ability in these players. Of course, Bubba and Zach are both very regular ladder players. So using these chase skills to their advantage, whether it's the chase skills or the 200-page Clown guide that they may have read, they are showing their ability here in these trials. Already an injury coming in onto Zaka, but it doesn't look like he wants to commit. So we're going to be finding our next chase somewhere else on the map. Coming to this pocket. Zanok's going to pre-drop that pallet to try and set himself up for life and get him out of this sort of bot side match. And Bubba's just kind of stood there looking at him very very ominously. Is going to break the pallet and deny the live, and we play around this little maze tile here and just look at the doublebacks. The spacing that Bubba really puts into place here on these tiles is so textbook. The live does come through, and he only makes it to this filler pallet, which, I mean, is relatively safe. I would be expecting Bubba to break that, which he does. And we do have this connecting tile, which Zynex can use. This is a good chance for the Nokron survivors to get some gem progression, but that is on one of the gens that does have some progress. So we're going to be seeing 2 gens pop here, and Zaka's on a 3rd. I think we've got 4 gens with progress on the map. I would say that the survivors have really done well for pressure on the map in response to these 2 chases.
Absolutely. Fantastic work so far from our survivors, and they also make sure that they are now not getting greedy too much. They are trying to at least consider the reset, because now Bubbo has different plans here, but prioritizes the gen and the regression. There's Zanok staying on the hook for a moment, and we can tell Marcos is not a MacBook player because he has Windows. We'll see if he is able to choose a little bit here on the edge map. That was not what we're looking for, Mr. Marcos. Maybe the second one is working better, but what a play here by Bubbo, really putting our survivor under pressure. Difficult one here now. Is it going to be the hit? No, Marcos waiting for the perfect moment to make it back towards the pallet. Fantastic work here by our survivor. Marcos really showing all he got, and just when I praise him to heaven, that's going to be the down right here. Yet a good chase, if you ask me. Ivan able to get 30% into the generator, and we have a little bit of a reset coming out as well. Zaka has a 75 generator, but gets interrupted here now. So I wouldn't say that Nokron is coming out too dominant so far, especially given the win condition. We only have 2 more hook stages on the 2 survivors that were already hooked. Otherwise, we need to make sure that it's only 1 more hook stage. So the next chase must be an absolute insane 1v1 World Championship Grand Final run.
And who better to show us than Ivan himself, but he is going to take a hit because of the bottle slowdown. Bobo doesn't look like he wants to commit, though. He sees Zaka there running off into the distance. We have 3 injuries across the board. Some with that sloppy butcher attack, some may be timed out, but like you said, they need a perfect game right now. And they have 3 gens left to do, and that's not the perfect game we're looking for. Zynox going down on this tile. And wow, that's going to be another stage added on to the tally. Saka there for the flashlight save, but isn't positioned properly. This is going to be another pain resonant stack, setting the survivors back even further. This is absolutely Ariandel's game to win currently on Nokron's pick 2. This has got to be such an insane momentum shift for this team, and going 2-0 into the series, into the best of 5, where you're going potentially into a match point. You definitely know that Nokron are going to be needing to strategize a little bit. Sanox on the second stage, 2 injuries still, and this kind of goes back to what we were saying last match, Dyer, where our survivors aren't taking the time to heal, and you do wonder if maybe the safer approach might be what they need to actually potentially get back into this. Nice pallet stun there from Zaka. Is going to keep himself alive for a little bit longer. And we did get a 3rd gen pop, but yeah, it just seems like I don't know how they get out of this situation.
Yeah, how do you make the impossible possible, basically, right? You need 2 generators, you need to unhook Zynox, you need to open the exit gates, you need to fry some eggs for breakfast, and potentially also make sure that the trash is being taken out in time. And that's a long to-do list here, and unfortunately we already have the answer. That didn't work out here, so it is only the tie possible from now on, if, ladies and gentlemen, if this is a perfect trial from now on, and that is the injured survivor. And unfortunately, it is going to be no body block yet. Marcos coming in, but for some reason, Babo's knife is too long here, making sure that Ivan is being downed, and that seals the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Ariandel going into a 2-0 in this best of 5, the second one of this series, but I honestly see the potential that this is going to be a 3-0 sweep here.
Yeah, Ariandel, after that long, daunting set yesterday, deciding we need to lock in right now, and then potentially facing that 3-0, taking us to a 3rd bronze match. I'm honestly excited for that competition that's going to come out from that. But yeah, wow, that's the win secured, and I have to say, on one of the most interesting hits I've seen so far this tournament, coming in for the body block Marcus, but Bubbo's internet had other ideas, just deciding to register the hit of the survivor in front. At least it looked like that on my screen, and that's Zaka going to be avoiding a hit on the broken truck. Now, for Nokron, if you're Nokron right now, you want a good result anyway. You do not want to concede at 4K, probably for just, you know, mentality-wise. I'm thinking that if they can get some escapes, it's going to feel pretty good going into that 3rd set. When it comes to games like this at such a high level, we do take into account mentality, mindset, and just their ability to kind of put in place those strategies and that gameplay that they need. But yeah, just getting like one-sided stomps, it really does numbers to your mental. And yeah, we're about to enter endgame now, so that maybe that result is essentially what we're looking at right now, and just taking that chase onto Fun Bus. Ivan using this checkbox absolutely amazingly. And we're into endgame now. Survivors looking potentially for the escapes. And yeah, I want to say we kind of went from like it was a terrible situation, but they managed to pull it back, and they will secure a good result, even though it's not the win.
Yeah, we need to make sure though now that it's going to be like half of a good survivor trial still, right? And I think with now the exit gate being ready to go and 3 survivors moving out of the door, you have a good reason to be confident about the survivor performance that you now presented on the Clown set. So you can then carry that over now into set number 3, into the Doctor, because the Doctor is actually a set where a lot of confidence is needed, because it usually means we will see a lot of body blocks being taken. We will see some great teamwork, some pallet saves, hopefully. So let's make sure that it's going to be the comeback of Nokron here. Take it away, guys.
Talk about 2 strong performances here. I mean, everyone came into play here in set number 2. I mean, I feel like for Ariandel right now, riding the wave here for sure after 2 sets. You're looking at potentially being able to walk away with a sweep, which is such a stark difference from what we had seen yesterday and what was a back and forth series here. Edgar, I want you to walk me through a little bit from what you had seen from Bobo's performance there in that last trial.
I think it was a little bit of a masterclass, to be honest. Also, just a side note, why is it that Bobo's so good at these like weird killers, like Dredge and Clown and stuff? Like, what a freak of nature. Again, not convinced that he's fully human, but that's a conversation for another day. Point is, it was a masterclass on Clown. So specifically, there are 2 things that I want to point out. One, the bottle usage. The APM is massive, right? I do not think he was moving at 115 for like for most of that game, to be honest. Whenever he's trying to move anywhere, if he's trying to maneuver a tile, if he's going to be breaking a pallet, if he's going to be reloading, if he's going to be doing anything that could slow him down, there's a yellow bottle out. And sure, the 10% isn't going to do a lot in the moment, but that constant speed actually helps Clown with map pressure, which is something which he's notoriously quite weak at. The other thing is the patience at chases. He's able to disorient the survivors enough. Yes, the idea of the Clown's power at a high level, the whole visual clutter, that's not going to be the thing that catches out most comp players. It's about the hinder. But he's actually good at just sort of he's sort of good at just winning these chases by death by 1,000 cuts. He's confusing the survivors enough and forcing them into risky positions, forcing them to use unnecessary vaults, forcing them to panic vault, forcing them to take 50-50s, which they otherwise wouldn't have to. It's just all around really good play from Bubbo, who's really stepped it up after yesterday.
Stepping up in a big way and has put Ariandel now 2 sets closer to being able to advance into a 3rd and final series. And as I mentioned before, quite a distinct difference. Yesterday, we look back to set number 3. It was tied at 1 apiece. Yes, set 3 was important, but nowhere near in the same sense as it does for Nokron right now. Talk me a little bit about what that mentality has to be feeling like over for the Nokron survivors here. Andrew.
We talked about momentum coming into the finals. Nokron was set up coming like during the regular season, looked like they were the one to beat before taking first blood and losing 3 in a row, then losing in the semis. And I think it's fair to say momentum's important in any sport, and momentum's important in any competition. If you have it with you, you can ride that wave. They got the win yesterday, which was really important to stem that, like stop the bleeding. But it seems like we're back in that maybe losing mentality. The survivors of Nokron have to lock in. It doesn't matter. Look, if they lose today, they are still in it. There's one more set to go. We're doing a best of 1 basically at that point. We go to the 3rd set tomorrow and we do a best of, the last best of 5 is all that matters. But if they go in tomorrow being blown out today, that's going to hurt them. And it's shown that losses breed losses, and that's never been more true than for Nokron this season. Nokron needs to lock in right now. Zaka needs to come out with a great Doctor set, and they need to get outs against Bubbo. Doctor is a mid-tier killer. We've seen some 4Ks, we've seen some ridiculous 4Ks, but we've seen outs. Nokron needs a ridiculously good survivor game right now. Set Zaka up for success. Give them some breathing room so that they can come back, win this one, and start looking at the last two killer matches of the day.
While Nokron surely feel the pressure currently as we get ready for set number 3, there's kind of an interesting dynamic that they get to be the beneficiary of. As you did just say, of course, they do have that third best of 5 that they could potentially play tomorrow. But every set that you win from here on out, if you're Nokron, you start to shift that pressure back over into the laps of Ariandel, who don't have that same benefits. Let's see if they're able to do that here on the Doctor set. We're going to hang out here in the Azarov's realm one more time as we're off to the Wretched shop. It's trial number 5. Casters, let's get down to it.
Thank you so much, Q. And I feel like Bobo is in such a good position here on the killer side to really set the stage for this set. Getting a good result here will secure potentially a 3-0, put Nokron in a bit of a situation coming through to the killer performance on the reverse side. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what they can do. Doctor, of course, bit of a dynamic pick itself. Of course, survivors playing together and trying to avoid those shocks to give their teammates more time in chase is one of the things that's pretty unique to his kit and just how you play against him. And look at that, 3 survivors caught out on that static blast. Now looking for that first chase, and we get an early drop onto Shaq to give ourselves a bit more distance. It looks like actually it was dropped from the outside and then and then it was continued around after that shock. But Ivan now getting found on the middle of the map, has this truck filler here in the middle of the map, bit of safety. Gonna be able to get a couple of loops out of this, and look at that. Yeah, Zaka coming in for the pallet drop, exactly what I was talking about. With that blind playing together, it keeps themselves in like the realm of safety. And yeah, Bubba's not really gonna be able to get much done, losing his first chase. And yeah, just insane coordination from Nokron coming into this early game, not giving up any form of injury. And it seems like they really are locked in, knowing that they are facing match point and potentially a tied series. But Dyer, what do you think about the set so far?
I hope that especially the early game will be what Nokron is looking forward to, because it really decides themselves right here, right now on the survivor side, right? We need to see some fantastic body blocks. We need to see a long first chase. We need to have basically, I would say, at least 3 generators completed until the first down, because Nokron is in the position and with the responsibility to show us a perfect set here. Ariandel is ready. Ariandel is in the dynamic, and Ariandel wants to make sure that we have to attend another best of 5 tomorrow. So the prediction seems to work out, at least when we talk about the strategy here. Marcos coming in has shown himself as a great team player all across Season X, so it's not a surprise that he's taking the responsibility here. But the question is, will someone else be around as well? Because Babo is really getting some good timed shocks out here, making sure that this pallet is not in reach just yet, but the head-on, making sure that Marcos gets a little bit of distance. And now, if Babo decides to not break this pallet, we will definitely cycle a few more times throughout the tiles here, which then results in a huge time waste. And that's equaling 2 generators at least. And there's the next one. Ivan now dropping the pallet to increase the distance that Babo needs to travel, aka some time and chase, and will serve as a body blocker here. So perfect teamwork so far. That's really raising my hopes for Nokron.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel we didn't talk about the perks just yet, but we see the save the best for last coming in. We saw Zeno use that last week, and when it came to the situation of like body hit tanks and stuff, like he was I think he reached like 8 stacks by the end of the game. But if you noticed, Zaka was taking hits at the start there, and he wasn't able to build up any form of perk value. We're now at 3 stacks, but that's only after the first stage. We have 2 gens completed, almost a third one on the way, and all of our survivors have reset through that sloppy butcher. And I just think that right now, Nokron are looking very clean in their survivor play. It's taken a while for Bubbo to get that first hook. 3 minutes and 8 seconds for that first down. 1 minute, 20 seconds behind the average. So let that sink in. And I said that Bubbo had an opportunity to set the stage, set the standard for this final potential set, but looks like Nokron are not giving up, getting a seriously good survival performance in, especially with that head-on. They're showing that this is why they wanted that Doctor for the survivor side, at least. Marcus now in chase. Ivan does get unhooked, and we have this filler pallet, which looks like Marcus wants to chain together for a bit of safety. Reset comes through onto Ivan now, so we're back to square one for our killer player. And good shock timing there to stop the pallet drop. And we've got the rapid brutality to follow up with that 5% haste. Going into this side of the map, it looks like we have another fillet. Quite often, sometimes, you could be faced with dead zones for this area of the map. Oh, he swings for it, he tries it, but that is going to be Marcos living to see another day, going into the corner of the map, and just look at the distance he's made. And wow, good chance for the survivors to get some generators on the go there, but second stage now for Bubba.
Yeah, slowly but steady, the hook stages are coming together here, and in exchange for that, it's surprising that we are still on the 3 generators that we had pretty much at the beginning already, right? When we remember this chain of hits being taken and making sure that there's some time being wasted, we had the 2 gens, and we still have the 2 gens, so a little bit rings the question in the back of the head, what happened between completing the 2 generators and now? Because only the resets, I don't know if that's really worth the trade-off here. So hopefully they are able to pull a little bit more. 60% over here, and Zynox, there is the generator I'm looking for. Thank you. Like Amazon, 1-day delivery, immediately making sure that we receive what we have asked for. And the next chase, I feel like, has a huge potential here, because if they pull such a teamwork again with a head-on, with a body block on the few remaining pallets, they might be able to push this into endgame, because we talk about like 80 seconds with seeing the little progress that we have on Zynox there. So 75 to 80 seconds are needed with a head-on and a body block. You might actually be able to achieve that. And Marcos going into second stage definitely secures some progress on generator number 5, makes sure that generator number 4 is coming through here. So next chase endgame, I feel like, is a good target for Nokron here.
Yeah, and I really like that decision to just let Marcos sit here. Like you said, I think they heard you when you were telling them about their gem progression not being as high as maybe they'd like. And I think by letting Marcos going second there, they gave themselves the opportunity to kind of recover on that front. Now Zynox taking an injury. It looks like it might be a potential 2-tap. Zaki coming in for the body block, and I feel like after a few of these chases, they probably know it's going to be saved the best for last. Flashbang coming in, not going to connect. But does he have enough distance to make this pallet? He's going to decide to die on it, which means Bobo is going to have to take an extra second, maybe before he decides to pick, but sees that Zaka is too far away. Maybe not the chase that you had kind of hoped for, Dyer, but that's going to be Zynox going down. That's going to be another fresh hook for them. But look at this. The gen is almost completed, and we might be entering a game.
Yeah, I hope we enter the end game. Where are the Nokron fans, guys? Make some noise here, because they are ready to move out of the door. At least we hope that they are. Cannot happen that Ariandel is taking a 3-0 in a bronze match. At least that's hopefully in the head of the Nokron players here. But we do experience a delay on that final generator. Some screws and cables are not ready yet to finish that objectives. Marcos now getting back onto set objectives, making sure that we do go for it. Ivan taking a hit here, and there we are into the end game now, ladies and gentlemen. And Zaka is a perfect target. That's the fresh hook survivor. So that would be 3 extra stages to add to the results so far, which would then be 7 stages on 4 survivor. And that's, on the other hand, again, something that you can really be proud of. 7 stages on 4. So hopefully some trade happening. Egdar coming around, trying to make sure that she's helping Zaka with some distance. And that is the case, at least for now. But is that really enough to make it over towards the exit gate, or do we need another hit? That's the pointing there in order to make sure that Zaka can crawl immediately. The flashlight player is downed and stays in the trial, but Zaka, unfortunately, being downed, and Marcos is still laying there, so it is actually 2 survivors in the trial, and yeah, he's not gonna make it anywhere. So we add 1 more stage from Marcos, 3 more stages. So we are moving up to 8 stages on 4 survivors. Zach, that's a good result on Doctor. You can be happy with that.
Yeah, especially with how the start of the set went. I feel like it was a bit of a timing problem because you had the sort of injured chase. Like everyone was injured. They took a lot of injuries in that last bit of the game there, trying to get that last gen done. And they tried to reset to come in for a hit tank, but there just wasn't enough time for the survivors. So they get into that situation where Marcos takes the down, but it's still not enough distance. He was zoned away. Zaka was zoned away to that shack, meaning that Bobo had time to catch up. And really, it feels a bit unfortunate for the way that the Nokron survivors have played this, to then be faced with the 8-stage result. I do feel a bit that's a bit unfortunate for them. But yeah, Bobo just knowing full well that he has the time and the spacing to chase that and get the second down. So 8 stages is a good result. Let's see what our analysts think of that match for a quick breakdown.
Talk about a turnaround there towards the end of that trial. It looked like there for a minute the survivors were able to kind of scratch and claw their way on back. I know when we loaded in, though, the one thing that really stood out to me was the build on Bobo, and I saw that Andrew had actually mentioned in the background that this was his build. So Andrew, walk us through the mentality of that build we just saw in that last trial for the Doctor.
It's really wild. You got Corrupt Intervention, which is pretty much a staple, but then you've got literally 3 body block perks. So the thing about a competitive Doctor set, for anyone who hasn't seen too much Doctor, I'm a big Doctor fan. I know it's weird. I'm the one guy. It's really interesting. So the way Doctor plays is you loop, you loop, you loop, you loop, you shock, you shock, you shock, you shock over and over again until you shock that one last time and you can't throw the pallet and we get the hit in. When you're an injured survivor, that's when your teammate comes in, tanks a hit, moves on. We had rapid brutality, which means when you tank that hit, you're hot on the heels of the person you were chasing. We had Stabiffle, which same thing, you don't spend much time wiping your weapon off, and you have Sloppy Butcher, which stops them from resetting, and we saw that coming into play. Now that takes away any option of having any kind of slowdown, any kind of regression, but Sloppy Butcher in itself is a slowdown perk because we saw that first down didn't come in until 2 gens were done, but then Dyer pointed out, like, we needed our Amazon delivery truck coming in. Took a really long time for the next generator to come in. So Bubbo, it was a slow start and it ramped up and it worked out.
Definitely ramped up there towards the end. I mean, even when we look at where they were sitting when all the gens popped, it looked like it was manageable for the survivors until it wasn't. Edgar, what happened?
Going off of what Andrew just said, it's a very snowbally build, which meant that the first down was obnoxiously slow. 3 minutes and 8 seconds is a minute 20 below the average. Doctor first downs averages at 140, 308. Kind of sucks. And at that point, I was thinking, all right, well, time to get ready for, Nokron to take us to some more sets here today. But the build ramped up. Of course, save the best for last, increase in value as the time of the game goes on. Zaka is only able to take so many hits to prevent its value. Sloppy means that no one's going to be healing, and then the rapid brutality to catch up. And so we have an end game where we have a bunch of injured survivors and a killer that is recovering in remarkable time from every single M1 gained. Meant that, yeah, they can just eke out some extra stages at the end. It's a big improvement from Bubbo. His last Doctor performance, he was only able to get 5 stages and 2 fresh hooks. Upgrading that to 8 stages and 4 fresh hooks, that is a pretty big deal. Also, Ariandel, it's a great win condition because the reason they picked this set isn't necessarily because of their killer performance, but they feel very confident on the survivor side. They average only 5.5 stages given against a Doctor on the survivor side. So basically, barring a miracle, barring Zaka growing 5 million arms and playing the best set of Doctor of his entire life, Ariandel shut this out right here, right now.
Let's see if Ariandel's survivors are able to do just that. If there's anything I know about watching Zaka through the years of DBDLeague on the killer side is you never count that man out. That's for sure. We'll see if we'll be off to a fourth set here in just a moment, or does this indeed secure ourselves another best of 5 tomorrow? It's time for trial number 6. We're running things back one more time on the red shot for the doctor. Dyer, Zach, take it away.
And you mention it, Q, never count Zaka out. He is the most, or one of the most experienced people, especially on this killer, ladies and gentlemen. Perhaps we can set up here for a shocking performance on this killer, because Zaka might say, let's save the best for last and use trial number 6 in order to make a comeback here. 2 survivors already, Hardwell and Swatter. Zach, I would personally chase Hardwell first, because I would be scared of Swatter after we have seen earlier on the Nurse.
Yeah, he's a bit of a terrifying survivor on that build. And look at that early hit, making the right decision there, chasing Hardwell, who concedes that hit. And look at the build, actually. We've got Rapid and Rancor, so we only have Corrupt as our slowdown. And this kind of it's reminiscent of Xeno's build last weekend, where we saw Save, Rapid, and I think it was Knockout as well. Just complete chase perk, getting complete value. And I feel like it's with Doctor sets, it really is about your chases. So I feel like a chase build's good, but against Survivor team that are just so insanely efficient on gens too, and when it also comes into take into account the hit tanks and the Survivor play too, I don't know, it's good. But either way, he gets a quick down there. Not too long, 1 minute 27 on that one, and that was almost half the time it took Bubba to get it down. So this is an absolute dream start for Zakadiah, and he is 1 stage towards that 9-stage win condition.
And you have the injury onto Swatter already, so that is also something we need to keep in mind here. That survivor needs to be significantly more careful. And Bubba also getting interrupted here by Zaka. Yeah, especially with the perk build here being aggressive, being about chases, right? And then basically also putting you in a position where you need quick downs and quick hook stages in order to keep the survivors busy. That's really the greatest news Zaka could have asked for here. And we can see also he's not going into the strategy that we sometimes see when a down came out quickly, where killers opt to stay more around the hook and maybe even camp into the 2nd stage here. Zaka keeps being aggressive. He keeps pushing over the 40-yard line here on the red shop. He's trying to push towards the generators, trying to get an idea where the survivors are located. And we actually have the info now. These 2 are in the corner. Hardwell is 2nd stage soon. Ergo, there must be 1 survivor on the way at the moment. And Zaka putting the puzzle pieces together here, returning to the hook. Will be interesting to see if the strategy is spreading it across the 4 survivors in order to go for the same amount of hook stages +1, or if we see the elimination strategy. Right now they are kind of running together here, looping with friends a little bit, but it seems like Claudette will be our main target.
Yeah, and I think crucially, I don't believe Hardwell went 2nd stage there, so this isn't an elimination. So a bit of a lifeline for the survivors, even given that quick down, they got the on-hook in time, and Zaku was just a little bit short on that rotation there. Unfortunately, had the information that he needed, but the survivors made it just in time to protect Hardwell. And that is if he gets hooked now and he's dead. No, it was all right. He didn't hit 2nd. He was so close. He was such... it was like a slither away from reaching 2nd there. So good timing for the survivors. Bobo also going to live to see another day, but again, 2 stages. We have 2 gens left, and we do have a decent sort of main side for his like gen defense. But like I said, we won't be doing chases. We won't be taking chases with this build, right? So how many hook stages can he get before the survivors essentially complete all the gens, which is really, I think, the story that I'm going to be looking for. Swatter is not going to be unhooking that, playing this 4-lane here. Not going to be able to get the save. Will it be enough? Does he have enough stacks? He doesn't. He was Oh, he's the obsession. That's why. Yeah, I mean, he was losing stacks whenever he hit Swatter, so maybe if it was a different survivor, could have presented the unhook, but absolutely annihilating the perk value there. Ariandel onto something with the Swatter going for that unhook, but we want that elimination onto Hardwell as we chase around. Shaq doesn't have enough distance. And there we have it. Hardwell now eliminated. 2 gens, maybe 1 pops in just a second. Not too sure what the progress looks like on the map so far, but Dyer, can Zaka now rest easy knowing he's got Survivor at the trial?
Well, you would think so, but Ariandel has been insane with the comebacks. They have been insane with the coordination. They have been super, super good with making a lot out of very little, you could say so, but it really doesn't look good here with Bubble going down. So I think Zaka can definitely reduce his pulse and panic a little bit, and he can go into a mode now where he is like maybe playing it off a little bit more sorted. You don't have to necessarily decide between, do I really need to commit right now? Do I rather go for the slug? Can I hook this? I think you enter a stage now where you are feeling a lot safer and a lot more calm. And this can be an advantage, especially when the survivors on top hand out an injury for free, basically. Excise there behind the corner of the fun bus wanted to lurk for Zaka a little bit. And that's going to be the rotation, also being caught now towards that hooked survivor. So Zaka with the perfect idea where the survivors are located. He's able to interrupt them, able to keep the pressure onto them, looking really strong here. Even a short interruption on the snap out, that's all a few seconds being added here. And I feel like Zaka will be able to pull this.
Yeah, potentially it's looking good. He has the information he needs, and he also has the ability in that shock therapy to delay the survivors a little bit. And as you can see on the HUD there, nobody is on generators. They really do want to focus maybe rescuing their 3rd survivor here. In the 3v1, we do always take note that it is about getting those fast unhooks to keep your survivors productive and always doing something. But the reason this is so bad is because you essentially have them doing nothing. And if you notice that gen right there, it's pretty highly progressed, and he has this hook on this top side, and essentially these survivors can't do anything. They can't answer this. Essentially, they either force to trade, give up more stages and give Zaka an advantage, or they just lose. So yeah, what an ultimatum for Zaka here, and it's looking like he's going to be set up for a winning result.
And the Nokron fans will slowly stand up from their chairs at home. The confetti is ready for set number 4 here. Bubble basically dying in our backs. Swatter needs to act in a second here, and it will be a trade. But it's a good and important trade for Zaka, because that's the fresh hook here. If you are able to hold this survivor on the hook, you would have the 8 stages. Unfortunately, though, it would be 8 stages on 3 survivor if Swatter dies. So we basically need a little bit more, but with the generator still standing, 2 injuries across the board, a regression here onto the generator. It does look really strong, especially with the 3 generators that are around the hook here. So basically Zaka locked himself down on this corner of the red shop here. One thing though, Zach, that we can point out for sure is that this combination of perks, as great as the idea was to put Rancor and Stabiffle together because they have such a synergy, this perk combination wasn't really the reason why Zaka was shining here.
Yeah, no, I mean, look at that 3-gen and look at the survivor positioning. I think this is definitely a survivor mistake. Nothing really speaking it towards the perk value or performance of the killer. I think that Zaka essentially been handed the set on a plate almost with this with these 2 gens. Unhook does come through, but look at the situation that they are in. Really, it's just a matter of time before these stages are conceded. Either they get the most insane, like, late game juice right now. If they can get to safety, I mean, it's still alive. We have this 4-lane pallet, but getting distance away from this area has to be their priority. But they can't, because just look at how much, like, there's just nothing really to work with, and Zaka is not going to let them like get any form of escape there. He's actually worried about this gen. Look how close this is. Actually, oh, I don't know, man. This this result, I was thinking it's a done deal, but he's not able to get another down right now. It could be quite dicey considering because he has no regression whatsoever. They are doubling this one. Do they get it in time though? Does Zaka decide to slug? He does. Potentially punishing with a bit of greed. But Excise is a fresh hook. I wouldn't really... I don't really see any reason why you don't hook this. I think Zaka realizes that as he's going back. Sees the gem progression. Knows how much time he has, and it just seems like he's lost the survivor on the floor. He was down edge map. No, go back, Zaka. Where are we going? A little bit of indecision here, and it looks like they're going to get the gem done. Diet, what's going on?
Yeah, we kind of... I'm a little bit lost as well here, Zach. I will not lie to you, but Pablo is trying the best as possible, but he does go down straight next to the generator that we are currently defending here inside of the 3-gen setup, right? And this is the most important homework. It's the most important homework. Get out of the 3-gen. Everyone at home, open your books, take a pen into your hand, write with me. Get out of the 3-gen, or it's going to go downhill. And that's unfortunately the case here for Ariandel's survivor side. 7-on-3 at the moment. 2 more stages are needed, but yeah, even if they do get this final generator here, we can go for one of these 2 survivors that are still standing. They are both worth at least 2 hook stages, Excise even 3. Camp them out. The injured survivor will not really be able to do something against it. So if Zaka, I don't know, doesn't get called up by his mom now to walk out the dog, he will win this.
Yeah, he will. I was looking scary for a second. He's so hesitant. Like, he really doesn't want to let these gens go. Excise, they're playing these pre-runs are so these gens will eventually pop. I feel like you maybe just commit to Excise potentially, but yeah, like, you don't have regression perks. You can't, like, you have a chase build, use it, man. Why are we going for gens? This is like the only way he can lose this, right? It's stressing me out, I don't know what to do.
He's nervous.
You can tell it's nervous. I mean, this is potentially like the losing set for him, so like, if you're Zaka, like, everything is on the line right now. And Excise was crucially tier 3 there. Couldn't do the gen. Okay.
They accept.
Yeah. That's the trial over. I mean, it was very close. It shouldn't have been, I feel like, but you have to give it to these players. They are playing with such high stakes. And yeah, I feel like Ariandel, of all teams, being one to test Zaka in a scenario as one-sided as this, really speaks volumes to them as players.
But it was crazy how nervous little bro was here, yeah. Mr. Zaka. You could tell, like, of course it is, we need to emphasize, right? Don't get us wrong here. We sit here on the casting desk. We have an easy time. I don't want to be in Zaka's position. That alone, I wouldn't even be here ever because I'm not a top 3 team. But and then you have the survivors in your VC, and all of these survivors probably tell you what the best strategy is, and backseat gaming basically. So it is very stressful, but you could tell how many different strategies, options, and alternatives were running through Zaka's head. From, do I commit? Over, do I rather check the generators? What am I supposed to do? It's crazy, and it shows how much is on the line here. And I'm glad for Zaka, though, that he was able to pull it together and come out strong. I feel like that was really important for the team, obviously. But it will be, even if Ariandel wins now, it's a lot better to lose with 1 set at least being taken instead of getting 3-0 swept and then coming out tomorrow again for the final best of 3.
Yeah, especially when you know how close it was yesterday. If you're returning with a 3-0, it's like, it raises the question, oh, I mean, was it a fluke yesterday? Like, imagine the amount of eyes on you after that result kind of hits. So securing this set's going to be good. Whether it's a momentum shift, I'm not too sure. I felt like Ariandel still looked good in that trial, despite the slip up on the 3 gen and then their positioning. But these guys can't play perfectly every time. And now we go to a set on Dead Dog Saloon. But before we proceed to that, let's throw it to the analyst desk for a bit of a breakdown on what went wrong there.
I tried to tell y'all to not count Zaka out. So in case y'all forget who that man is, let me reintroduce him. That man is Zaka. For a long time here in DBDL has been known as quite the monster. Been able to hold it down for the pound over on the killer side. Talk about a performance, but I did want to say great job by the survivors there, really pushing Zaka to the limit. The one thing I couldn't help but notice was different was Zaka struggled being able to get the build going because our survivors did a great job of being able to take away those stacks. Edgar, walk us through that process a little bit.
So for a while, people just wouldn't even run Save the Best for Last on Doctor anymore because the obsession would just be a bully and tank hits. Now that happens a bit less, but it's still very capable. But they're still very capable of doing it. So it's a strange dynamic, and you could see Zaka actually trying to play around it by bringing in the Rancor as well. The idea is I'm going to try and ignore the obsession for as long as humanly possible. Then by the end game, it doesn't matter that I've not chased them or got any hook stages on them. I'm going to be able to secure 3 easy hook stages onto them anyway by just outright killing them. Not a bad plan. And I don't think the Ariandel survivors adapted to that at all. The moment I see a doctor in the lobby, I don't care what my obsession, I don't care what perks I have, I don't care what their game plan is. I'm saying, you are the hit tanker now. Every time you get hit, especially because there wasn't any sloppy butcher on the side of Zaka, I'm thinking every single time that the obsession takes a hit, he is running back to a survivor, getting healed up, and then going right back to whoever is being chased to take another hit. You deny a perk which can easily snowball out of control, and you're able to continue tanking hits and keeping everyone alive, which Doctor is very weak against. Now, that wasn't something that Ariandel seemed to be able to adapt to on their survivor side, and because of that, Zaka was able to take a strong win.
A strong win indeed, but I can't help but wonder as far as for the survivors, right? They saw that they were able to prolong how long it took to get that first survivor out, yet still somehow left themselves in a 3-gen situation. Was that the big mistake here, Andrew?
Yeah, I think it's that, and also I gotta jump in here real quick. Everybody who saw the cast yesterday, Egdar and I were doing the in mid game cast, not the analysis, and I had many comments from people in multiple different chats here, Discord, and even random chats around on Twitch yesterday, recalling the fact that I was losing my mind that nobody seemed to be tunneling and getting someone out of the match. Now, the funny thing is on a Doctor match, Doctor does tend to get outs more often than not. And because of that, tunneling may not be the right move. Bubbo went for fresh hooks, whereas Zaka hard tunneled and got, I believe it was Bubbo out at the very beginning. No, sorry, it was Hardwell at the beginning of the match. It paid off. That tunnel out allowed to get down to the 3v1. Now you got everybody injured, and yes, back to your question, I think that the survivors fumbled a little bit. We had the chase all the way over at Shack, but somehow we had 3-gen really tight at main building. I think in their head they would be able to get the generators done before the tunnel out came in, which if it works, congratulations, you're heroes. But I gotta say, tunnel out your survivor until you get to the point where, okay, now I need to get some fresh hooks and maybe change gears. Zaka must have listened. Just kidding. Zaka doesn't take advice from me. But Zaka did what I was screaming about doing yesterday, got that tunnel out, and the result is a 4K on Doctor. So well played. I want to see more of that coming into the next match. Maybe going to 5. We're going into Cenobite next. So well, hopefully we see a quick tunnel out. That's what I got to say.
Well, yesterday we saw our best of 5 need 6 sets in order to declare a victor. I was kind of worried when it looked like potentially today Ariandel was going to be able to bust out the brooms. Don't get me wrong, I want to see us go to a 3rd series tomorrow, but let us at least get 4, maybe 5, right? Well, we're all to at least set number 4. We're going to the Wild Wild West, the deadest of dogs, for some Cenobite action. Let's go ahead and send it back over to Zach and Dyer as we take another trip back into the fog.
Thank you so much, Q. And yes, Cenobite, I would say relatively different set so far from what we've seen. I mean, this is definitely a killer that is very, very difficult in the 3v1. So as Andrew points out, tunneling is going to be the way to go. Getting into that 3v1 and basically amping up that pressure as soon as that elimination comes through is something very characteristic of the Cenobite. And especially with high ping players too, with the latency and the chains and things. So yeah, well, I'll say we're just getting into it. Zaka now playing again off the back of that 4K1, very strong performance on the Doctor. Going to be feeling good, has all the momentum, and has already found the box. That's going to reveal the location of our survivors. And that's going to set him up for success going early on into this trial. The chain hunt starting as a result as well. And we have our first chase on main building. Looks like we have 2 survivors up here, actually. We've got the bamboozle. We want to break this breakable wall. Alongside the bamboozle, we've got agitation, actually. Corrupt and pain res. So opting for a bit of a chase perk as well. So not opting for another regression perk there. Sometimes that can make the difference. Sometimes it can be pretty rewarding, though. So we'll see as the trial goes on how that pans out. But no injury on the board yet, and we finally found our first chase.
And let's see, ladies and gentlemen, if Zaka just continues after the great performance on the Doctor. We do not get the first injury just yet. We reach this little pallet here that really no one wants to drop, because afterwards it is a horrible tile to play around. Perfect solution being found here by our survivors, immediately rotating away over towards the box as well, so that can be crossed off the to-do list as well. That looks like Ariandel making sure that the pressure is up on the killer side, and look at that! Almost done with the first gen. We don't even have an injury yet.
Yeah, he found the box and then really just was a bit hesitant on his first chase. Decided to go for Hardwell, who was solving the box, and then couldn't even land the chain. So essentially all of the pressure or information he had at the start of the game is just completely pointless. And now he's back to square one at 4 gens remaining. So we're going to need somewhat of a fast down here. And it's on to Swatter, the demon himself, who's been showing us what he can do on the bill. Does land the chain. Will he make this window a time? No, won't make the window. But is it Shack? A relatively strong area to be in. Does have a few tiles that he can link together. And this area of the map typically seems to be rife with pallets too. So definitely has a lot of resources available to him. Misses the chain from the inside and essentially zones himself back into the main building, which is going to be probably the safest area you can chase in this game. Taking that fastball. Excise coming in now for a hit tank. Using that new flashy cosmetic on Ace. Swatter opts to stay at main building, and yeah, we've got 2 injuries on the board. No sloppy butcher, so there's not going to be pressure from those injuries somewhat, but we are now in deep wound with that chain hitting onto Swatter, so original pain add-on coming in. Very, very classic add-on that's used by Pinhead, because when you get those survivors into the deep wound, they obviously can't do those conspicuous actions like gens and whatnot, because they are forced to mend. Now that he has some injuries on the board, it's going to be good for him. But again, look at how fast these gens are going. Dyer, the survivors, completely punishing Zaka for his probably less than ideal early game.
Yeah, and I feel like Zaka realizes that as well now, right? The basement is a little bit of a good news, I would say. It's hard to get out of there again. You can force a trade, something like this, but there needs to be more. You are still with the match point against yourself. Ariandel just needs one more set. You need to put that into a 2-2. You need to actively push it into set 5. 3 gens are already gone, and Swatter will also sit on his first hook stage for 30 more seconds. And I don't know, but Zaka seems like being the absolute inner peace, the soul with the fridge. Why is he so calm, Zach? Why?
Someone just pointed out the boxes at basement in the background. I'm thinking maybe that's why, but
Is it?
it's just something that the survivors can't go for. And the chain hunt is also going to act as a bit of a slowdown too. So he has that benefit.
Then I'm fine with it.
We're saying that he just kind of left, and now gonna give SWAT a second stage. Have a survivor facing elimination, and yeah, these chains are starting to connect now. So there's something that Zaka can use his well, it's something that, you know, he's gonna be able to get that pressure. You know, he's landing these chains now. He wasn't earlier. And we run over to main building and we catch the rotation. Someone in basement. Now let's check the body block. The body box skills. We have the chains playing, and he's not able to. Oh, he is actually. Oh, and he's caught by chains. Swatter, I still think he has BT. No, he doesn't. It runs out. And I do believe he went second stage. Does he want the chain on the box? Yes, he does. Okay, this is where it starts to snowball there. He's got this elimination coming through, unless there's a pilot save. Okay, there's no pilot save. We're safe. And he's going to take this last hook stage as a pain res. Now, Zaka has a reason to be calm, Dyer.
Yeah, now he does. Meanwhile, I'm almost losing it over here, but I mean, Zaka has more experience than we do, right? He can judge these situations a little bit better, but people need to forgive me when I'm panicking there, because seeing how Zaka was just vibing there at the basement when the match point is against us, I guess that is basically the result of so many years in Comp DBD. But yeah, well done to Zaka there, judging that case absolutely correctly, getting the elimination, still being on 2 generators, and really setting the sail then for Nokron to move into a good win condition in Trial 8, and potentially therefore securing set number 5 in this best of 5 series here. It's crazy that we realistically talk about 5 sets again after it already happened yesterday here. He's trying to scout for the next survivor. That does cost a little bit of time, and the other survivors now fully healed again, so that's a little bit of a W for Ariandel now. But as soon as Zaka finds the next survivor, we kind of still need a quick down, because if we get a little bit, yeah, if we get a little bit of a too long chase, and in worst case is a Fari again, like earlier on the Nurse set, we might make it into endgame very, very, very quickly.
Yeah, and look at this. The chase is at main building with that basement, so you could be essentially entering a repeat scenario of what happened to Swatter. We have the chain and hitting. That's going to be Bobo in the deep wound. Does vault down from the outside, and he gets mind game. No! Bobo's going to go down, and it's going to be a basement hook again, potentially. And this is really devastating. He doesn't take that patient stance of just checking, making sure that the killer is actually following me, and Zaka just goes around and gets the down. Oh my goodness. No pain res coming through, but Zaka right now has this 3 gen. Did they? Oh, they just popped that gen, I think. Yeah, so someone is here. Yeah, someone is still up there. Oh, wait, what? Oh, the chain just kind of got eaten up by the building. Yeah, this is quite bad. The hook coming through next to that gem that's just completed. This is a world of pressure for the survivors. They did get the reset, but that quick chase onto Bobo, and now another injury coming through. Potentially another deep wound. Oh, he misses the chain. Unfortunate. But yeah, this is ramped up. This is it. This is definitely turning into a set for sure.
And yeah, it couldn't be closer. I mean, yesterday we already experienced how far these 2 teams can take it if needed. And it seems like they just want to continue here, though. We are now on only 1 generator remaining, and on the hooks, we only got 1 more as well. So will it be 5 before generator number 5 pops? Survivors taking care of a reset in the distance. That means that the 5th generator is now getting started, but Excise is a fresh hook. That means that Zaka, yeah, can go for another pain rest. It doesn't feel like gets too much impact here, but more importantly for the survivors, that is a little bit of extra hang time. So you have a little bit of more time to relocate yourself, to discuss a strategy, to see what objectives do we want to pressure in the next few minutes here. and Hartwell lurking around a little bit. Meanwhile, the next chase coming out. Difficult for Zaka again, I feel like. You need to make a perfect decision now. When do I check the generator? When do I want to commit to a chase? How long do I commit to a chase? But honestly, so far, Zaka has shown us brilliant situational awareness. So we can only hope that he's able to keep that up.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a very quick down onto Exercise after that unhook. Hardwell now using the time for this hook to solve the box, prevent another chain hunt, which actually was looking like a bit of a situation. But Zaka wants to take a more mid-map hook now in between these gens, so it's a bit more manageable. Now these gens are going to be, I mean, apart from that furthest one, these two gens, which potentially have the most progress, are going to be in range of the M2. So he's going to be able to interrupt whoever's working on this gen at the same time as defending the hook. So I do believe that position that he's taken on that second stage for Exercise is pretty good. It's going to feel pretty good. It all really depends on how far that gen in the corner is on. And yeah, it looks like it's only just getting started. Hardwell is going to be working that one. Barbo takes a chain hit, and it looks like this will be an M1 potentially. That chain lands. No, he does make it just. But Barbo needs the last hit. He needs to give Hardwell time to get the rescue on the mid-map. And just swings through it. Look at that. Barbo taking the injury now. And Hardwell is running for that unhook. But he misses the M2. Well, he dodges it out. Very nice from Barbo there. Buying his teammate time. The unhook comes through, and looks like we are just going to commit. Knows that the survivors are not on gens, so Zaka is got all the time in the world, playing on maybe the worst palette in the game. What is this palette? Oh, he gets the M2, and that's going to be Bobo going down. Reset answered by Ariandel. And yeah, this is a very back and forth set, but I think that Zaka's winning this right now because of the lack of progression on the survivors.
Yeah, the generators are really slow, and Zaka is doing a fantastic job punishing the survivor team exactly like that. He has built the pressure onto them. He has made sure, especially with the early elimination, that the survivors do not have the manpower anymore to get through the objectives as quickly as they would wish to be. So we are taking the chase back towards the main building that can usually serve for a pretty long chase, but Zaka also realizing that it would be a little bit too long, and somewhere over here is an injured Babo, so why not going back is the thought process here and just taking care of that. Chain, however, is missing, so Babo will be able to hold W away towards the outside of the Dead Dog Saloon here, but he does manage to, never mind, not dodge the chain this time. That requires a hit being taken from Exercise here. So great team play now by Ariandel. They realize that they cannot go down at the moment. They realize that this next chase needs to last for quite some time. The pallet is dropped here, so potential good mind game might keep Zaka a little bit busy. Ariandel doing a fantastic job here. It was quite
all of this time that's being taken, I do wonder how that gen's doing at main building. Hardwell's probably going to be working that, and I believe he had deja vu too, so he's going to have the extra repair progress. And look at it, it's close. You've got Bobo there doubling it. Even in men's status, it looks like they want to play for that final gen. They could potentially get out. Just making the most of that men's timer, and he's go down. Oh, he's just going to go down. Yeah, he's just like, nah, I don't want to mend. I think we're just going to get this gen done and maybe call it there. But wow, Zach unfortunately not able to hold on to that momentum that he had. Pulling together, playing in that pair. Ariandel survivors pull it back, and yeah, after that shaky start, I felt like every side had a bit of a shaky start. Oh, Hardwell does get found, so no hope for outs right now. But yeah, the 4K0, I think playing for that win condition there is going to be good for whoever plays on the killer side. But yeah, like this couldn't be any closer, and I feel like I'm going to have a hard time predicting who takes this set.
Yeah, usually you would say getting an out is pretty easy, right? Yeah, just get all the generators done. You don't have to worry who's taken out, just any stage. But on the Dead Dog Saloon, a map that can yoink, a map that can really spawn some difficult, disgusting, close together, challenging painful, devastating, harassing, whatever 3 gens, that's not where you want to necessarily get an out as a win con. Like, getting 5 gens done is a little bit more chill, but getting an out on Dead Dog Saloon can be really, really tricky. So, analysts, specific questions to you guys. How do you play in the upcoming trial? Do we see something super aggressive, slamming the gens as fast as possible, maybe even accepting some injuries? Or will we see total safety, using body blocks, using main building and resets? Take it away, guys.
This guy's taking my job and coming up with questions for. No, actually, I think that's a very good question to ask. But I think also important to remember that this is DBDLeague. It ain't over till it's over. Even early on in that trial where it looked like Zaka started to have a little bit of hesitation taking first chase, there is a point where Zaka was really able to turn things around, do what Zaka does best. Andrew, where do you feel like that turning point was in trial number 7?
Let's break down the beginning of the match in general. Good, experienced Cenobites will go and find the box. They've played this multiple times over and over again. You spawn here, the box is either going to be here or here. Zaka goes, finds the box, starts a chain hunt right away, gets information on the survivors, makes it so the survivors are going to be easier to find, just change their spawning, and also not going to be able to work on gens very well until they get the box. Great. We start a chase. We hit a couple chains, some really good play by the survivors, able to throw a few pallets. Here's where I think a big mistake came in. I'm sorry, I forget who we were chasing at the very beginning, but someone starts completing the box by Shack, the building edge map by Shack, and instead of shooting a chain out to interrupt and then start that chase, while that person still has the box on them, we teleported over. I thought that was a major mistake, and I thought that game was going to go really badly for Zaka. However, fast forward to we got a basement hook, and I want to take some credit there. I was the guy that called it out. That box was spawned at the top of basement stairs at main building. And Dyer, I understand the panic. Why are we camping? Why are we camping? They're slamming gens. But maybe wasn't aware of the fact that the box was there at first. That box means that nobody's doing generators. They're doing a gen for 2 seconds, breaking a chain. Doing a gen for 2 seconds, breaking a chain. Manages to camp out, manages to get that quick tunnel out. I want to throw out one more thing there. We shot chains down the stairs, hit the unhooker. I think it was Bubbo. And because of the impaling wire add-on, the spawned chains hit Swatter, making it so Swatter got less distance, wasn't even able to make that garbage pallet in the corner there, ends the tunnel out, completes it out. Good job by the survivors, by the way, to get that last generator done to the point of letting themselves bleed to death. But really, really strong play, and that would be my OutcastAndrew turning point of the match.
And I think from there, even after the turn started, what was most important for Zaka was to be able to continue to control the late game. Because once you have control, the last thing you want to do is give it back over to the survivors. Edgar, how was Zaka able to do that?
Well, Zaka's start was terrible, to put it bluntly. 308 down when the average is 159 on a Cenobite. That kind of sucks, and it's also interesting for that to begin with Nokron, because this is, like, historically one of their best sets. In their playoff match versus Invictus, that was the only set that they actually won. And we know that Invictus is certainly no slouches in the slightest. But in the late game, Zaka picked it up, played a lot better, was hitting basically every single chain by the end of the game. It was, as Andrew said, kind of some horrific box RNG by the basement that led Ariandel to that loss, however. Part of me thinks if the box spawned in a different place, I genuinely think Ariandel would have easily gotten some outs. So now, obviously, we turn to the question of, well, how is likely Bubbo on the killer side going to handle this? What do the Nokron survivors have to do? I think that they can afford to play very aggressively. You are expected, sort of, to get outs against a Cenobite with a 4K rate of about, I think after that match, it actually jumped 5% to 47%. But before this, it was about the 44% mark. So point is, it is more often to get outs against a Cenobite than not. So it is not unwinnable for either of these teams right now. Nokron should be expecting out. I think they had a game plan coming into this one. this was their pick, of course. So I think that they just stick to their game plan. They can afford to play aggressive. I don't think that, barring a really nasty early game, things are going to be disastrous for them. They're not going to have to play particularly safe. They just crank out generators and try and speed run this game before Bubbo can take it. Remember, the longer a match goes on, the more it is in favor of the killer. So we want Nokron to avoid that as much as possible. Because let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, we want to go to 5. We want to see this one go all the damn way.
I want to see Wesker. I just want to throw that out there before we go in here. I want to see Wesker because I love some Wesker gameplay. So this is going exactly how I wanted it to.
Yeah, I mean, start on the comp tower, end on the comp tower. Would definitely be fun to see it end that way for sure. Remember, we went into set 3 and I told you Ariandel needed to try and end things there because otherwise Nokron has the ability to slowly put more and more pressure back into the laps of Ariandel. They drop this set here. All of a sudden, they're one set away from their run in DBDLeague Season 10 being done. They've got to lock in here. Now we're back off to the Wild Wild West. One more time on the deadest of dogs. Let's go ahead and take another trip back into the fog.
Let's take a look, ladies and gentlemen. If Nokron is able to force us into the tiebreaker set number 5, and then potentially we need a tiebreaker again, just like yesterday, or if Ariandel with Bubbo himself is going to pull something very, very clean here. It would need to be a 4K with a generator still standing, so no, just a 4K basic. So we need to make sure that, yeah, we have either an endgame speedrun or we lock it down before. Let's see if he's able to do that. We definitely have the potential there, since the early game, the analysts pointed it out, didn't go as planned in the previous trial. So if we would be able now to down the first survivor really quickly, getting him into a good hook location, Zach, I feel like this is where the key for success lays.
Yeah, a good early game always can kind of like calm you down as a killer, because you know that you have a kind of ball in your court at the very start of the match. People underestimate like how much an early endgame can really influence the match, because these survivors don't usually, like, they're not really prone to mistakes, and so when you give them the opportunity to get ahead early, they will keep that. So see what Bubba can do. He kind of set up main building, broke the jiggy door down the back at the bottom of the stairs for some spicy mind games, but that's going to be Vobbo taking a hit after about 5 million chains attached to him. And look, oh, does he get the mind game? Yeah, he does, almost. Oh, does he make the pallet? No, he does just, but that was almost very close. And Vobbo is going to go down, unfortunately not able to make any form of distance because of that double back by Bubbo. And this might be the early game that Ariandel need to close out potentially.
Yeah, it's not what Bubbo was looking for maybe in particular, because then you would have won like the speed run, but it's definitely a good feeling here to get the first stage while 5 generators are still shown in the UI. And we can also see that Zaka, Zynox and Ivan do not have the most impressive gen pressure yet. I don't know if they counted the sand corns on the desert map first, but it's definitely not what you're expecting from a Nokron survivor team that needs to slam the gens in order to make it out of the trial here. Interesting to see also that the Sloppy was brought into the trial again, so kind of expecting, with a good reason, that Nokron would take a lot of hits, then trying to hide and pull back into the main building over and over to make sure that the safety is granted for the survivors. And that was an attach of the chains, I believe, onto Zynox here. So a little bit of extra time keeping the survivor busy, but off we go again onto Vobbo here. That is in best case our early elimination, so I'm glad to see that Bubbo has a good plan here, but I will also look forward to take some protection. But it seems like we take Zaka potentially, as he's the bodyguard for Vobbo.
Yeah, I think Vobbo needs to draw that out on his chain if he wants to make it to safety. He doesn't quite. It's going to be pretty close. I think he does make that window, but won't get any further rotations. Oh, the mind game. The bamboozle coming through. How much distance did he make? Oh, it wasn't that much, but he does have this window that he can chain. That is one of the reasons why it's quite an interesting door to open, because the survivors can also loop it whilst the killer's still able to mind game it. Oh, Bobo staying alive just a little bit longer. But Bobo is hitting these chains, and I feel like it's really helping him in these chases. Like, he's not missing. And that's where kind of Cenobite really struggles. But we've got this mid-map hook now. It's going to be very difficult to safely unhook this, because Bobo has pretty good control of the middle of this map. He has these gens kind of in like relatively like open space. You can either go over for the kicks or try and maintain with the M2. Zynox has been found, but yeah, the unhook is going to come through fast because I think they've realized it's probably not the best location for it. You do have the main building there to use. And we need a long chase now. We need to recover on this generator progression. Bobo looking for that elimination. OutcastAndrew in the background is going to be very happy because we're seeing some tunneling, Andrew. The tunneling that you wanted. Gonna get that elimination coming through, getting into that 3v1, and has been found. It looks like the team are mobilizing to protect Bobo. This is absolute worst case scenario. If Bobo is dying here, every second counts, every hit tank counts in this moment, because the progression that they're able to rack up is going to help them when they go into that 3v1 eventually, though.
And yeah, he's trying to fight, he's trying to do something great and good for Nokron, but it all comes to an end sometimes. That is the down right here, and then it's confirmed, guys. It's time to write the condolences cards to Nokron, because they are losing the team member number 1 here. Ivan will most likely be able to finish generator number 3, but keep in mind, everyone, it will not be enough to just get the generators out of the way. We need all the objectives completed and then 1 stage out of the door. In case of a tie, just saying this early, you all note it down. If I catch anyone asking this later, I will find you. No, joke. But if it is a tie, we will move to the Mastermind first. And in case we don't have a decision after this set, then we play the Cenobite on the Dead Dog Saloon later on. Just in case we have a tie here. So, Babo, back onto the track of the survivors here. And that's going to be injured Zaka back there. I can only hope, Zach, that Ivan will do a good job in body blocking.
Well, a missed chain is definitely something that helps you in that sense. But Zaka's going to have a bit of distance to play with. Actually, opts to run around the top of the main building. Maybe for that hit tank, if someone is there, but no. Actually just taking max distance around that side, not opting for the other way around. Maybe because that bottom door is broken. It's probably the safe. He actually checks a locker. Maybe looking for a head-on play, potentially, that we do often quite see on this map. Very prone to bully squads, especially in team formats, but they do pop a 4th gen, actually. No down coming through, and an attempt at a mind game. And I feel like the Nokron survivors have not really let that tunnel out onto Bobo kind of rattle them. They seem to be playing like pretty calm and collected. Very characteristic, maybe looking to try and play for that tie. But at this rate, you know, they may even be looking at out. I'm not too sure what that 3rd gen is. I know we have main building and this one here. Where that 3rd one is, I guess I'll see in a second, but yeah, damn, the chase onto Zaka, the chase onto Ivan. We've got 2 injuries with Sloppy, but yeah, that reset comes through, and it doesn't seem like Bobo's got very much momentum.
Yeah, Bobo is now also realizing, right, that he has a realistic chance here potentially to maybe not defend the final generator, but at least keeping them all in the trial, right? Because if you get one survivor hooked here now, they need to take care of one another. Then they grind the final generator, maybe even with the double up, as we have seen in the previous trial. Then you know the location of all the survivors, and then you can basically speedrun the end game and get all the survivors down onto the floor. So I think Babo...
No way!
No! Too early in a comp match! get a new identity, and then sign up for AHL. Who was that? Zaka himself?
The captain. The man at the helm. No. Oh, that's unfortunate, but because I feel like that changes things. No, like you deny that pain res maybe, but yeah, I'm a bit speechless at that one. Mistiming the flashlight save. You just know that it's the nerves, right? It's the prospect that our team is at match point and this flashlight save matters. Maybe that changes the way you think about things and the timing messes up, and I don't know, man, but yeah, either way that happened. The hook came through, and the survivors had 20% erased from one of their gens. A bit of a lag on it.
I mean, it's also the nerves now coming out, right? So if I would have been responsible to get this flashlight safe, I would have probably aimed into the opposite direction, being so nervous in this chase here. So that's going to be the difficulty, Zach.
Yes, it is, and it's just now that we have a bit of pressure on the survivors, I also feel like Cenobite is I don't know what point I'm trying to make. Oh, the vault back actually going to protect him a little bit longer. And yeah, look, the chain hunt as well. Like if you're missing these chains, like you've got to have the aim on point to get those chains down. You've got to have the aim on pit to hit the flashlight saves. We've got all of our shaky mouses causing maybe some misses that you wouldn't normally see. And yeah, those chains that were connecting at the start of the match, and I feel like maybe Bubba is starting to feel the pressure a little bit, holding these check spots on the main building. And yeah, the trial seems to be slowed down a little bit. This main building is getting dangerously close. And Pablo, I believe, only has pain res really to use. It would be ideal for him to find the fresh hooks here, Zaka and Zynox, for those last remaining pain resonant stacks. Resets coming through onto the survivors in the distance whilst Zynox running this main building. And Zynox is the head-on man, so not able to set up for a head-on play when it's you with head-on. Yeah, taking the time to reset, good dodge out on the chains, but taking the time to reset whilst this chase is going on is good because it gives them time. It gives them time. Time is like the best resource they have, especially in a 3v1. Chain comes through. This could be an injury fairly soon, but Chain Hunt looks like it's fairly close. Do we have a survivor going for the box right now? And looks like we actually run into someone who's crossing through the mid-map. And Bobo knows... Oh, it's Ivan on the box, but yeah, like, now you have information on basically all three survivors. So it changes a little bit. Now Bobo has the information he needs to potentially lock the game down, but we'll see.
This is going to be one of these trials where you can only tell in the very last second where it actually flips to. Is it going to be Nokron? Is it going to be Ariandel? Ladies and gentlemen, Nokron looking strong again. All three survivors on the run. No one on a hook just yet, so Babo doesn't really have the pressure right now with this extra task being given to them, with this extra objective to take care of, like an unhook or a heal. And there's the final generator, Zach. It seems like we are moving out of the door here. It seems like we will be successful. And it also seems like, ladies and gentlemen, that once again, we will need the final set between Nokron and Ariandel. Yeah, Babo, you can hit the shack. Unfortunately, the shack is not responsible, but rather the great survivor performance of Nokron here. Peak gameplay. Analysts, what can we expect from the tiebreaker? Because I heard you need a high IQ for this killer. You basically need to be a mastermind.
Oh, how I have missed the jokes from Direwolf. But yes, we are getting ready to move into the mastermind set on the Cold Tower. Should be a good one, but let's not overlook what just happened there, because it felt like had a decent sort of rate going. You were able to get a elimination at 3 gens, and then all of a sudden gens are done, stages are going out the door. I mean, Edgar, what happened?
a late game collapse, to be honest. But after such a good start, after the fact that you got the first down so quickly, you got it ahead of schedule, you got it in 147, way above, well, not way above the average, but like 12 seconds in front of the average compared to what Nokron got, where they got their first down after 3 minutes. The fact that you don't get the box, but the survivors at the beginning of the game just apparently forgot to do generators, so you're able to get all the benefits from not losing time going for the box with none of the drawbacks of the gen pressure. The fact that you start out by hitting every single chain, getting nasty flicks onto everyone, and then somehow at the end, you just miss everything. You drop your spaghetti all over the floor. You then slip on it and you fall over and you crack your back and everyone's laughing at you. It's such a painful collapse to see. And now Ariandel, that I genuinely think that they should have had this match in the bag. They had such a good start to that pinhead set. I was ready to call it quits. I was ready to go through to the grand final, but these teams just cannot get a read on each other. They are both so competitive. They're both doing everything they can. They know the stakes, and Nokron are fighting until the bitter end.
Well, what a match that it was. And fighting to the bitter end is exactly what we were hoping to see here today. I think a lot of us were hoping to see this thing go into another best of 5 tomorrow. But now all of a sudden, Nokron just one set away from being able to lock this up in 2 straight series and even avoid going into a third and final set. Now they get to set the tone on the survivor side. I guess my question then in turn to you, Andrew, what does Bobo have to do to make sure that you set, and I don't want to say an unbeatable win condition because that always feels so tough, but what's the recipe to success to be able to win this set on the killer side in trial number 9 to be able to force one more series on Sunday?
You're absolutely right. I just want to throw out there. I did call Ariandel in 5, so everything's going according to plan. But that we did Ariandel in 5 also puts us in the scary position where Nokron is 1 away from taking bronze, and Ariandel will end their season in 4th place. So what do we need? Last map, Bubbo had a decent start, and then it kind of fell apart. Like a kill at 3 gens. We saw a kill at 1 gen left on both nurse matches today, but a kill at 3 gens on Cenobite was wild. Bubbo, you got to lock in. It seems so obvious to say, but Bubbo's got to lock in. We can't fall apart end game, mid game to end game. We need to put up a winnable or tieable result here to give your survivors a chance to actually put this one away and put it to the final of the tie break tomorrow. There's no way ifs, ands, or buts about this. If you have a bad, like every killer in this league has had a bad game. Everyone has had a bad game where they go out with 4 hooks or they got 6 hooks, or or it's like it's looking like it's going to be a 4K and then the survivors turn around and suddenly they're getting outs. Everyone's had that. Now is not the time for that, Bubbo. Now is the time. We need Wesker's not necessarily a 4K killer, but I think a 4K 1 Ariandel wins this. Anything less than that, and it's up in the air.
We'll have to see exactly what sort of finish line Bobo is able to set for his survivors as we do get ready to head off into the fog for set number 5. We had kind of teased it earlier in the day that, well, we had seen this thing need 6 sets for the best of 5 yesterday. Could that potentially be the case here again in set number 2 of our series? Or sorry, series number 2 of our matchup, I guess is the best way to put it. Well, only time will tell. It looks like we've got all 5 players ready to
Could I
take
jump in
that-
there real quick, Q? Sorry
Yeah.
to jump in there. I just want to throw this out there because for anyone who's been watching season 10 here, you'll know that we have a rule where we do not repeat maps. It's really interesting. We started, like you said, we started on Com Tower, ending on Com Tower. Normally you wouldn't see that. However, what will happen is if we've already done the map, we'll roll on to their alternate map, and each killer has 3 maps. Well, all three of Wesker's maps have been played. So back to Cold Tower we go. I just wanted to throw that out there. It's an interesting little tidbit of information.
Let's get out to Comp Tower. Let's see if we run things back one more time tomorrow on Sunday, if Ariandel can pull off the dub, or does Nokron show that they've got ice in the veins with the reverse sweep? It's trial number 9. Zach Dyer, take it away.
Thank you very much, Analysts, and of course, Andrew, for the breakdown on why we're seeing a repeat map. So yeah, a bit of a rare case actually that we do see this, but on his home territory, Cold Tower 1 Wesker, or at least his comp territory, not his home territory. But yeah, Mastermind, a favorite set of mine. I do love these sets. He is one of the nicer design killers I do enjoy in general, and seeing it played at a high level always excites me. But yeah, Bobo now after that Cenobite performance looking to lock it down for Ariandel in this game 5. But what a set! We've seen Ariandel go up 2-0 and then the reverse sweep from Nokron. So just absolute insane competition coming through. And we have the Beetle in play, but he doesn't get the injury because he's too far away from the edge map. Doesn't get the hit onto the tree either. We'll see how he can angle this. Trying to get him into a bad position. Ivan is going to get hit into the tree, but he does have Shaq still that he can use. Does he swing? No, that was an ambitious swing through the pallet. And he doesn't make it. That's going to get Ivan so much distance. And what was a bit of a situation for our survivor there is a little bit safer. Oh, he gets caught on the mind game. That was actually really close there. Oh my goodness. He's winning these 50s. Oh my god. Bobo's using everything. Oh, okay. He does go down, but I mean, that could have been a much shorter chase had Ivan been a little bit closer to that edge map.
These mind games here on the pallet had a little bit of jiggy vibes, I'm not gonna lie. But eventually he stood long enough to get the first generator out of the way. Zynox with half of a generator. Well, now it's been reset by the pain resonance. So let's see if we also get the interruption as Babu is now moving over towards the main building right here. I would say it's a balanced early game here. One hook stage in exchange for one generator. Nothing too crazy where either side must be scared, but Babu definitely needs to step up a little bit in the chases. Like we cannot have a second or third chase during the mid game now where we lose the 50-50 mind games like this. So hopefully this down here now onto Ivan 2.0 basically is coming out a little bit quicker.
Oh, he doesn't get the vault back in. He tried it. Bobo shaking his head in disapproval of the attempt. Ivan tried to use the Wesker's hitbox as he vaults over to try and get back into the main building, but it didn't work out, and now he's going to get punished with the second stage. And I don't know if that was the right decision to make, given the stakes that we have in this match. That's not always a given that you'll get that vault back, and I felt like there was just a little bit of hesitation there, but the decision to do that, maybe he just felt like he didn't have enough distance to make it anywhere else. Otherwise, outside of that, I might question that decision. But the reset comes through now onto Zaka. We have a decent amount of progression, but Ivan faces elimination early on. This is getting scarily into 4K territory for Bobo if they're not able to rescue Ivan here. And he's going to the gen where they're resetting. They do get it off in time, but this could be another injury potentially early on. No, he takes the kick instead. Going back towards the main building to try and cut off a rotation, but yeah, Nokron are a bit of a standstill at the minute. We will have the gen completed in the distance, but the honor comes through. It is safe. Does he have enough distance to make it out of main? He does, and he does have enough borrowed time. Oh, he's stuck at the window, actually. We're going to need a really good hit tank here. Could go for the M1. Oh, he swings around, and Ivan is going to be facing elimination at 4 gens remaining. Basically 3, but yeah, this is devastating right now. The result of this, potentially getting Nokron into the 3v1 so early on is going to be so difficult to counteract. I don't know.
What a crazy play from Babo. Like you have the body block tanker there to protect, and you basically say, "Get yours, buddy!" Out the window we go, Jimmy. Well, this is now the counterplay that we are looking forward to, and the firecracker after. Give it all, Zaka. Yeah! Oh, the stun as well. Left let's go. Okay, they are back. They're gonna 4-out. They're gonna revive Ivan with a special ritual in the basement and then all walk out the door. They just turned this entire match here. I'm up for it.
Oh my god. It was looking bad and then it was looking good. I felt like Zach is gonna be laughing so hard. The fact he made Bobo just kick foot there and then he's still gonna get him afterwards. Oh, that's gotta be a tilter, man. But nevertheless, we still are at 2 gens remaining. We didn't face any extra pressure off the back of that elimination, so Nokron gonna be chilling and putting in a performance, showing even though they're at game 5 for their potential bronze match for Season X, they have their composure. Saka stealthing out on that Ormond tile there, and we are going to be looking for our next survivor, but it seems like there's a bit of a stealther around. Someone looking to stay a little bit safer. Yeah, it looks like Zynox is there in the sort of top mid area. Pre-ran that gen, and Bobo's not able to find anyone. Yeah, slowing down this trial, knowing that they need a bit of time off the back of that elimination. Playing it quite nicely. And yeah, Bobo seems to, going from that really good first kill to now struggling to find someone and ascertain where our survivors are. We don't have balance landing available to us. So if Bobo does go up to this main building, Xanax is going to be in a situation, but isn't onto him yet. And Dire, this trial is slowed down significantly compared to the start.
Absolutely, yeah. But I feel like the fact that we even stand here is this huge chase from Zaka, because Babo was basically in a dynamic, almost entering speedrun mode and be like, okay, more stages here, then we do that, and zack, zack, we go into the 4K basically. But now Nokron able to sort themselves again, to reposition themselves, to make a little bit of a strategy. Generator being done in the distance though. That's number 4. Zaka being slammed into the box there. But 1 generator in a 3v1, that's okay. You can make that happen, and that's something that is definitely not out of reach. So will be interesting to see how Nokron is trying to play this, but Babo not gaming around. That's going to be Bobo onto the hook there. Zynox with 60% in the distance, but that's now going to be the next hook stage. Fresh hook coming out, so we get the regression onto the main building. 50%. Next survivor already. Zaka needs to stay alive.
Oh no!
That's very bad.
That's really bad. The quick down from Bobo's hit tank to now Zaka going down. That's going to be another pain res, and it's going to reset that main building basically back to nothing. He has a pain res here too. And I honestly, I think, I could be wrong, but when that hit tank pinged through, that last gen was about 75% done. It had an eruption and pain res off the back of that down from Vobo. And you've gone all of a sudden from nearly entering endgame to being back to square one in this 3v1. Things can happen and change so fast in these matches. It's insane to see. And yeah, I felt like there was a bit of a blunder on the survivor side. They had a bit of momentum, almost facing outs right there, and this has changed everything.
And Volvo needs to also stay alive, but that's going to be too many quick downs now, back to back, ladies and gentlemen. That is really tricky here.
And this is basement 2.
That's going to be another basement hook. Yeah, Zaka is injured, so we either get the time in to go for the yeah, okay, we did, but we have also the position now right here under the generator that was constantly progressed before by Nokron, so they also need to reposition themselves now. They need to start pressuring a new objective. That's tricky on so many levels, Zach, that I don't even know where the survivor team should start.
This is really bad, especially because look at those other 2 gens. They're essentially next to each other. This is the 3 gen of Doom, and they basically missed their one chance to kind of just pop it almost. Once this elimination comes through, because there's not enough time to finish that last gen, they're going to have to get this unhook. Otherwise, they'll be in a 2v1 scenario in the 3 gen. So Zynox coming in there with the balance landing. Zaka on the gen. Oh, missed a skill check. No one saw it, don't worry. We have the Beetle add-on too, which is also going to stop the unhook. He can't get it. Now Zaka has to go for it. It's such a... This is essentially Bobo able to force the 2v1. There's nothing they can do about it. And it's all just about how much progress Zaka can get now on that gen. Yeah, he goes upstairs. Elimination comes through, and we're only about 50%. This is looking bad. This is looking like it's a 4K1 secured.
I would say so as well. It would be an absolute miracle if that 5th generator still finds the completion. I don't think it's absolutely impossible, because some miracles do happen in DBDL from time to time, but with that quick injury here onto Zaka, it looks definitely more and more possible that the miracle is shifting out of their hands here. Babbo with hopefully a good mind game, maybe a final mind game even, but unfortunately not being quick enough there with this spin or flick onto Zaka. Zynox fully infected now, grinding on the generators. It's either now or nothing, to be fair, so I totally understand the focus onto the generator here, but we have also heard our Claudette running away just a few seconds ago, so Babbo now knows that Zynox would need to travel back towards the main building and going upstairs again, so he has a little bit of time to check on Zaka here. A little bit reminds me of the Doctor trial that we have seen earlier, but it should be the same result, the 4K. Wow. Oh. Yeah, with that seals the deal.
Yeah, that was insane as well from distance to play that. Zynox was slowed by the Ouroboros, but Babbo just not missing those bounds. And this is Zaka now getting chased for the 4K1 secure by Babbo. And I have to say, I feel like it could have been a lot different. Given one or two different things happening in a different way. This is a completely different trial, but Babbo showing he's consistent and isn't going to let the... Oh, this gets thrown... just getting thrown around like a toy. Like, toying with the survivors, especially after that chase earlier. Oh, a little emo, but it's not going to work out. And Zaka's going to go down. And yeah, wow. Now you're looking at, for Zaka, a 4K2 win con. And Mastermind, where you're kind of used to seeing outs, your back's so against the wall right now. So Ariandel are going to be feeling good. Going into this next trial, though. And yeah, I want to say I felt like just everything kind of went wrong after that hit tank onto hit tank onto Babbo. It just sort of fell apart. What, like dominoes.
And that will be the wonderful task for our analysts to really break it down. I totally agree. Things went into the wrong way, and it kind of created a dynamic, right? And because we actually have something so important to discuss here, let's throw it a little bit earlier to the analyst desk while Babbo is collecting the meat pieces here on the call tower. Guys, what exactly happened and what's needed now?
That's a really good question, but before we do get to that, I just want to say for trial number 9 here, a perfect example of like competitive DBD to the fullest. I mean, a back and forth exchange between a great team of survivors and a very, very solid killer. I mean, it looked like you had the early elimination. All of a sudden, Zaka juices it up, and then things did indeed fall apart. Edgar, talk me through what happened as the wheels seemed to have come off.
So there's a lot that goes into any game, and you can never put things down to just one player or one factor or anything like that. But the point is, Zaka giveth and Zaka taketh. Zaka, Babbo had an incredible early game, very quick downs, incredible chases, and then Zaka just juiced him in the middle of the game. It kicked off with absolutely just juking him through a window, sending that guy flying. And then he ends up holding him for about a minute, not even eating a single injury, allowing the other survivors to get a full reset, make their mark on the generators. It was really strong play, and I was super, super impressed by it. And then it all fell apart because after Babbo went on a hook, who was nearby? An injured Zaka in an absolutely just kind of indescribable position. As an injured survivor in such a high-pressure scenario where you're also... and you put yourself in a dead zone next to the recently freshly hooked survivor, it just beggars belief as to why he's in that position in the first place. Gets caught out, another pain res and eruption comes out onto the main building gen, which need I remind you was about 75%, immediately drops to about 50 just off the back of that, continues to regress all that time, while Zynox is forced to help reset everyone and go for these unhooks, and then when it's all said and done, it just wasn't able to recover. It shows you how high the playing field is for survivors, and how one minor mistake, how you can do so many incredible things in a game. You can have an insane chase, you can buy so much time, but you make one positioning error, you make one small misstep, and the killer is going to exploit that for everything it is worth. Poor performance indeed.
Well, my memory serves me correctly. Before we entered into trial number 9, one of the two of y'all were telling me that a 4K1 was what was going to happen here to turn things around for Ariandel. I just can't see. Was that you, Andrew?
So, if anybody wants the winning lottery numbers tonight, you can go ahead and send me a DM. I am not held responsible for any gambling losses. However, I came into this saying Ariandel in 5, and I came into this saying if we want to see that happen, we need a 4K. To be fair, I said we need a 4K1. I didn't say it was going to happen, but I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I'm feeling like I've got the magic touch right now. I seem to be everything I'm saying it comes true. So I'm gonna find $1 million on the sidewalk today, and we're gonna see if that comes true. No, just really clean play again. Bubbo played pretty fantastically. Zaka did almost turn around in the mid game, and Dyer's reaction was my reaction too. He was yahooing, and so was I behind the scenes here. So really great chase there by Zaka. But going back to what Bubbo did, a couple really nice, quick 1-2 dashes, very fast. Dash flick dash, managed to pull off some really nice hits there, and managed to carry it up to the 4K1. Actually, it's really interesting. I'm not sure if anyone mentioned it, but the main building gen was out of kicks there at the end, so we were getting down to the nitty gritty there. But when it's in 2v1, it's pretty much over. Really well played by Bubbo. Now, I was just saying how great Zaka did on Survivor. This isn't over yet. Zaka's an amazing killer. And it's interesting. Again, I feel like with so much on one person's shoulders, I feel like if anybody is going to have to deal with sort of any kind of, I hate using the word tilt, but any kind of pressure based on past performance and stuff like that, I feel like losing a match makes you more likely to lose the next. Well, the same can be said for winning a match, and Zaka just came off of 2 wins in a row, so don't count him out yet. This could go again. We could go the distance here. 4K2 is a lot to ask. It's not impossible. 4K1 to send us right back to where we were again today, where we were again yesterday. It's possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's possible.
So then, are you sticking with the Ariandel in 5, or are you telling me that you see a world where we do not run things back for a 3rd set tomorrow? 3rd series, sorry.
No. So Ariandel in 5, I'm sticking with that, which means we will see the 3rd series. I'm sticking with Ariandel. I think Ariandel's going to win. I think we're going to get at least one person out the gate, or forget that. We just got to do, all we got to do is finish all the generators. I feel like we're going to get the generators done. I'm simply saying, don't count Zaka out. This is not impossible, but I am going to stick with my Ariandel in 5, and I'll see you guys on the desk tomorrow for the final matchup of the bronze medals. So.
Edgar, make me a believer. What's Zaka gonna do here in order to pull out a dub?
Pull out a dub, he needs to pull off the performance of his life. He needs to actually inject himself with Ouroboros and just let it consume him for the rest of this set. Now, what impact that will have on him and the world at large, that's yet to be expected, but you're playing for money. Recall there is $500 in this, and you want to claim that now. Imagine being able to tell your team, I'm the guy who got you the $500 down. to be able to bring this one back, meaning that we won't have to go into a match tomorrow. We won't have to get things dragged out here. 4K's, the problem is that they aren't expected on Wesker, which is quite surprising. You'd assume him to be a very strong killer, but no, he only has, after this game, a 4K rate of about 30%. So not only is Zaka going to have to beat odds, but he's going to have to beat them in a manner that we haven't even seen before, to be honest. It's quite an inconvenience for him, but let's hope that he can manage it regardless.
Well, Zaka has been one of those killers over the test of time where we have seen has been able to pull off some miracles. 7 minutes. 7 minutes is all I can spare in Campfire chat before the trial starts. We've got all 5 players in and readied up. It all comes down to this. Trial number 10, back on the cold tower for a little bit of Wesker action. The Mastermind. Let's go ahead and get down and do what it do with another trip back into the fog.
Thank you so much, YoBoyCue and Zaka now faced with a win condition of 4K at 2 generators remaining. And making his way over to this corrupt zone for potentially an early chase. Already sees some scratch marks. Good start. We need a strong early game if we want to set ourselves up for that result. And can we get that curve around the tower? We cannot. We have Egg and Beetle also in play. Beetle, very, very popular add-on these days for Wesker, given its strong edge map ability to secure the 2 taps. But yeah, just decides to leave Bobo. Doesn't want to commit chase, and yeah, struggling to get an injury so far into this. We're going to be really overanalyzing this early game because it is essentially what is needed for that win condition. If you're letting the survivors run away with this, then essentially Zaka is going to be really struggling to play for that win, or at least secure a tie even. But yeah, we see Excise actually onto this Godrock. Some good RNG so far we've seen on the map that the survivors have been taking care of. Playing that short side of the rock there actually turns this tile into a bit of a 50-50. So good position from Zaka. We've seen other Wesker players do that. It's a pretty standard thing to do, especially when you have the survivor stuck at the pallet. But Excise now facing a potential early down, and there's no pallet there to use. And I think getting that first pain res with 5 gens remaining is about the start you could hope for, Dire.
Absolutely, that's the best case basically, right? In this tricky situation, we need to remember all gens is already the loss, and Mastermind is not out of nowhere just because you have the difficult win condition turning into a Nurse or Blight. So given what Zaka has at the hands here, it's a pretty good start. We also have the pop kick now on a pretty progressed generator, and we have somewhat of a useful 3-gen that we can defend down here. So I would say, just in general, in case Zaka is able to force this into a tie, so we go for a replay, this should feel like a win for Nokron. Now, the difficulty is that Ariandel is pretty much aware of the 3-gen. Excise has latest called it out by now, but the fact that this generator next to us was already high progressed is telling us that they were aware of the difficult generator setups, and as soon as Excise is getting off the hook, they will make sure to run towards the main building. That's why they've just done these generators, not mid generators, top side generators, so they can all run up there towards the main building. And while Zaka is basically forced to chase there for the elimination, they're going to triple up on the gens down here to break it. So we'll see if that strategy is going to be successful. And I think, Zach, I can guess who will be the target here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it looks like he maybe wants Bobo for the pain res, especially after all that progression that they got on that sort of far side gen. Beetle is going to get the early throw onto that tree, but we do have that God Rock, so Bobo's not going to be really seeing the end of days just yet, and we've lost Bobo. So essentially his... Oh, there's a flashlight save coming from somewhere. I didn't quite see where that was, but... Zach are a little bit confused, but yeah, now we kind of lost that pressure a little bit, trying to find those survivors that we were trying to kill. We can actually hear Excise in the top of main building. And this is the chance now for the survivors to work those gens that they were trying to. And look at this Excise with the balanced landing. Does he land this bound? No, he doesn't. It's so close. And he has this, what looks like to be a Palagim a little bit. And there's the God Rock there too. So he's got a really good setup here to use. Vault's going to come through, but is the down going to follow? No, he has an Ormond tile as well. Look at this setup. Nice swing through the pilot. Bobo's going to go down. That's Eruption procced. The team are coming in to protect, but Zyka misses the bound, and Excise is going to live to see another day. He's slowed from the M2. But the Ariandel survivors, if this down does not come through, if this elimination does not come through, it's going to be the game. I feel like it's essentially a timer right now, Dire.
Yeah, it does take too long for the win condition here. It would be now the tie. So we definitely do not see Zyka here taking the win for Nokron anymore, but there's no way that 4 survivors of Ariandel that are also able to drag the killer all the way behind the main building will not take the chance here. We do not see a pain res either, even though Excise was not having one anymore in the first place, and now we kind of try to travel back, but this should have been enough time indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, we will return tomorrow as Ariandel is pushing us into a 1-1 in the series here. One best of 5 went to Nokron yesterday, the other best of 5 today going to Ariandel. So tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central European time, same as today, we meet again to watch the final 5 killers 11 to 15, in order to make sure that we have a winner determined for the bronze medal here. Zach, what a fantastic match today.
Yeah, it's been such good fun. Oh my goodness. The fact that we've seen 2 back-to-back game 5s from our bronze match, I mean, it doesn't get any more competitive than this, right? I think that we've all really been blessed with such an awesome, like, not just like semi-finals, but bronze match, and then potentially a really competitive grand finals too. But wow, Dia, well, thank you so much for casting with me. This is where I leave the caster desk, I believe, and I'm going to be going to the analyst desk. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to cast with you for this insane Game 5 series.
Thank you so much as well. And I'm looking forward to hear your opinions now on the analyst desk. I'll be joined by Egdar. So basically, we're going to make some swapping around here on the desk. But for now, we want to hear from Q and the wonderful crew of analyzers. What can we expect from tomorrow, guys? This is what I'm so hyped about.
Well, I do gotta say, I had concerns there for a moment as Nokron takes set 3, takes set 4. It looked like maybe, just maybe, we were not going to be convening here same time, same place tomorrow for that 3rd series. But indeed, we are. The survivors doing a phenomenal job to be able to, 1, stay upright and vertical for a bit, but also be able to crack into that 3 gem as necessary.